Part 39. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 389. Lu Chang'an went to the dormitory to get books and received a message that a package was left in the mail room downstairs. So Lu Chang'an went to get the package and found that it was mailed by Gao Duai, so he picked it up and took it back to the dormitory. Sun Shutong, Wei Xuanyi, and Qin's Haiqiang were all in the dormitory. When they saw Lu Chang'an carrying the heavy package, they couldn't help but be curious and asked him what it was. Lu Chang'an opened it and looked at it. It was a box of books. It was the complete collection of Utopia books. There were as many as 20 or 30 books, such as Auschwitz, Creating Japan, and the Pope and Mussolini, etc. Did you buy it yourself? Sun Shutong asked. Lu Chang'an shook his head. Friend. Haha, this friend of yours is trying to trick you. He actually bought you so many books. How can you have time to read them all? Wei Xuanyi laughed. It reminds me of that primary school student who picked up money and returned it to the owner, and then the owner gave it to him. Got a bunch of exercise books for him. Why is it the same? Lu Chang'an likes to read books, and his friend likes him. Qin's Haiqiang held a different opinion, took a book and looked at the price, and was surprised. 648 of these books are gone. It seems that crystals are the currency you recognize. Lu Chang'an laughed. He knew that the currency used to consume everything in the game Qin's Haiqiang played was crystals. 648 yuan is equivalent to more than 7,000 crystals. Borrow a copy, Sun Shutong asked tentatively. Yes, Lu Chang'an is not a stingy person. I usually put it in the dormitory. Just don't get it dirty and lose it. Do not worry. It's almost time, let's go to class. The four of them went to the classroom together. Wei Xuanyi failed in the election, and Yan Qingcheng was still the class president, but he became the league secretary and was also responsible for the student work in the male dormitory, which was almost the same. Lu Chang'an picked up a copy of Capital, The Beauty and Savagery of Delhi in the 21st Century. In fact, Gao Duai bought the set of books to his liking. Most of the books described modern and contemporary things, and Lu Chang'an's historical period was very important. Spending part of the time in China, the unpredictable historical events and the development of human civilization are at a completely different pace than before. Lu Chang'an cannot experience too much, so he will understand it through different countries, different perspectives, and different humanistic records. When they came to the classroom, the four of them sat in the last row. There was an empty seat next to Lu Chang'an just in case. The classroom is so comfortable and cool, Qin's Haiqiang said in surprise. Look at the newly installed air conditioners in the front, rear, left and right, and they are tall and stylish. Is the school so troubled? Wei Xuanyi said in surprise. Yesterday at the student work meeting, I didn't even listen to what the instructor said. Only in the classroom where our class has classes. Lu Chang'an knew it very well. Why? Sun Shu agreed to ask. Lu Chang'an pointed at Zhu Huntang, who entered the classroom at the right time for class. Zhu Huntang saw Lu Chang'an pointing at her, so she walked over. Originally she was looking around for Lu Chang'an. Zhu Huntang wore a black short dress, black and purple stockings with paintings of the Milky Way and nebulae printed on them, a grey plaid round hat on her head, and a long shawl wrapped around her bare arms. Lest the newly added air conditioner make the delicate eldest lady catch a cold. Zhu Huntang sat directly next to Lu Chang'an, then took out a comic book from his bag and spread it neatly on the table. He folded his hands together and pressed the bottom of the book carefully. Except for Lu Chang'an, several other male students in this row were a little nervous or a little excited. When Zhu Huntang came over, he had a fresh fragrance, which was a bit sultry. Smell is an important signal that stimulates men's desire to choose a mate. Did you forget to bring your book again? Zhu Huntang said happily. I haven't forgotten, but it's not necessary. Lu Chang'an shook his head. I haven't forgotten it either, but it's not necessary. Zhu Huntang imitated Lu Chang'an's speech. Lu Chang'an looked at Zhu Huntang with some confusion. Zhu Huntang blinked his long eyelashes and tilted his head to meet his eyes from below. Is there any problem? I am a top student, that's why I say this. Are you worthy? Lu Chang'an reminded her to be self-aware. You have a very high tone, Zhu Huntang replied in his newly learned Junxia dialect. The top student and the bad student usually play together, skipping classes together, and playing games happily. They are very happy. When it comes to the exam, the top student is still very happy, and the bad student is like a air. Lu Chang'an said with a smile, I read extracurricular books for work and leisure. Combined, what are you? Zhu Huntang stretched out his head, pursed his lips, and imitated Brother Wu Ying, and said to Lu Chang'an, eat daddy. Lu Chang'an finally discovered one of Zhu Huntang's hobbies. She likes to imitate various dialect tones or lines. The imitation level is very poor and not cute at all. Qin's Haiqiang sat next to Lu Chang'an, feeling his heart spurting out countless blood. He looked at Zhu Huntang's face from the corner of his eye, heard Zhu Huntang's cute voice, and quickly took out his cell phone nervously, watching his wives disperse. Attention! It's so cute, it'll kill you. Wei Xuanyi and Sun Shutong couldn't help but lower their heads and look at Zhu Huntang across Lu Chang'an and Qin's Haiqiang in the middle. Although Zhu Huntang had humiliated them both, the scars had inevitably healed a little and forgotten the pain after so long, making people unable to help but want to move. What are you looking at? Zhu Huntang noticed that two people were looking at her. She rolled her eyes and sat up straight. She resumed her upright class posture and started reading her comic book. They are looking at the beauty next to you. Lu Chang'an also glanced sideways. Zhu Huntang turned to look at the other side. The girl in the first row across the aisle from him was indeed pretty. He said you are a beauty, so you must not have a crush on him, Zhu Huntang kindly reminded the girl. The girl smiled awkwardly and ignored Zhu Huntang. Lu Chang'an read his book and did not intend to pay attention to Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang stretched out his legs and put them together, stepping on the ground with the soles of his feet, and stopped looking for someone to talk to. After class, Lu Chang'an went to see An Nuan at noon, and An Nuan said that they wanted to have dinner together at noon. Lu Chang'an had no objection, but An Nuan also had classes in the third and fourth periods. Lu Chang'an rode his bicycle to eat in the cafeteria of the School of Business Administration. The two of them ordered dishes. Lu Chang'an laid a paper towel on the dining table, placed the book he read in the morning on it, and opened the bookmark. I don't have a good book to read, and Nuan looked at Lu Chang'an in confusion. You look good, Lu Chang'an said without raising his head. Sure enough, the burnout period of love has come, but I didn't expect it to come so early, and Nuan said sadly. It's getting late, Lu Chang'an nodded. I'm not going to eat, and Nuan put down her chopsticks angrily, clasping her hands together and staring at Lu Chang'an. Want to eat grass again? Lu Chang'an raised his head with a smile, it's green and healthy. I told you earlier, so much vegetables are wasted. Close the book, and Nuan threatened Lu Chang'an with a pout, otherwise I really won't eat. Because you may lose weight by eating grass and your hand won't feel that good, I accept your threat. Lu Chang'an closed the book. He just happened to see a paragraph that he found interesting. What nonsense are you talking about? And Nuan was shamefully happy. Defeating her boyfriend by not eating was a sweet victory for all girls, but it was clear that he had only touched her butt, and it was not a formal touch. Let's eat. Give me a hug after dinner to see if you've lost weight, Lu Chang'an urged her. She didn't need a scale to help. When killing pigs at Gao Dui's house, Lu Chang'an cut the pork without weighing it. I'll definitely look heavier after eating, so I won't hold you, and Nuan immediately refused. She no longer cared about diet and weight like she did in high school. Anyway, she couldn't be the main force of the school team when playing volleyball in college. They are all average, just playing carelessly. Now Nuan just wants to be thinner, because she feels that her leg shape is similar to that of Bai Hui, with her thighs being slightly rounder, but Bai Hui is a short man, her own the leg shape might look a bit slimmer and longer. Lu Chang'an gave An Nuan some meat. An Nuan used to give Lu Chang'an the meat in his bowl. I hate eating meat, An Nuan hummed coquettishly, then picked up a grain of rice with chopsticks and said casually, "Today, Bai Wanwan wore a pair of torn stockings and was teased by a boy she had a crush on. Maybe I feel a little embarrassed. After all, he is someone I have a crush on." Lu Chang'an expressed regret. "Actually, I want to wear stockings today, but it's a bit hot." And Nuan sent a keyword again, hoping that he could extract it accurately and remember something. "I want to wear stockings tomorrow." And Nuan was already a little angry. Is this guy really just teasing me? She planned to give him one last chance. If he never wanted to get up and ask her for the video of her wearing stockings, she would delete it. He asked her for it before she was willing to take it. Of course, he had to take the initiative to ask her if she had taken the picture before she would send it to him. If he didn't tell her and she took the initiative to send it to him, wouldn't that mean she was talking about herself? Are you eager to seduce him? Although she did want to seduce him a little bit, it was his idea to inspire her first, otherwise how could a pure girl have such an idea? "Put it on." Lu Chang'an looked at An Nuan expectantly. "I'm not going to eat." An Nuan put down her chopsticks and sat there seriously angry, unable to be coaxed anymore. "Remember to send me the video." Lu Chang'an laughed. "This beautiful girl is so cute. You're annoying. You're kidding me." And Heating wanted to climb on him and hit him, but this was the canteen, so forget it. If he comes to play at home one day and his mother is not there, he would hit him again. After eating, Lu Chang'an hugged An Nuan. She didn't weigh more than 110 pounds, which meant that there wasn't much fat under the skin. It was better to wait for her to gain some fat. Fat is actually a good thing, as long as it's not too much. It can make pork and beef taste better. "I'm starving. Give me a monthly pass to eat. I recommend Gourmet Supplier. The author is a cat who knows how to cook, and a great god who can become a god in one book. I'm really immortal." Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 390. An Nuan sent the video to Lu Chang'an. Today's mobile phones are basically capable of shooting high-definition videos, and the video files are quite large. Even if you choose to send the files face-to-face, it takes some time. "You are not allowed to look now," An Nuan said delicately, speaking word by word. It was a bit hot while eating, and her cheeks were even pinker. Of course, when she was bragging with Hans Hizzy, she seemed to be well informed and experienced, but her techniques and methods on how to seduce men basically came from the romance novels she read, internet jokes, etc., and they were not true knowledge derived from practice. So when I deliberately did this kind of thing for the first time in my girl's life, I didn't feel so leisurely and calm. Especially during the filming, Hans Hizzy had to join in the fun. She was obviously just Zhao Kuo, but she still had to point out that An Nuan's performance was not natural and coquettish enough, and she refused to let her set an example. "Okay, I'll climb up the tree to take a look later." Lu Chang'an nodded. "Why did you climb the tree to look?" An Nuan continued to act shy and looked at Lu Chang'an in surprise. "Go to the bathroom and look, it's too smelly. Just find a place to look, it's not safe. Go back to the dormitory and look, don't worry. It's still clean on the tree." Lu Chang'an pointed to a big tree casually. "I used to climb it often. It feels great to read a book on a tree branch more than 20 meters high. Go back and watch. Hide under the covers and watch." An Nuan suggested with a blushing face, looked around, and lowered her voice. "I heard that boys do this. Are you implying that you want me to watch Wang Ji at the same time?" Lu Chang'an suddenly realized, it's really indecent. You are the one who is wretched. It was you who asked me to take the photo, but what does Wang Xian mean? And Nuan pulled Lu Chang'an and ran behind the tree, and started beating people with her little fists. She actually called the girl wretched. She was just giving him a suggestion, even though this suggestion was what Nuan was looking forward to the most. Before the two of them had a real relationship, girls actually looked forward to knowing that they had become the object of his fantasy at that time. The prefix, add a below, is the word nang. The word nang is the same as nang, and the two characters xia are added next to the handle. Lu Chang'an is a very reserved person. Lu Chang'an, where do you use your erudition? And Nuan patted her forehead. And Nuan felt a little obscene stimulation, because Lu Chang'an used very vivid words, and she still knew something about these aspects. Although she must usually be a pure girl like a delicate flower that is not stained with morning dew. Actually, many people know the character. The original meaning of this character is to hold something with both hands, and now it is commonly used as gong. Many people will think of it as the prefix, but it is not the case. Lu Chang'an thought for a while and decided to tell Nuan a story. When it comes to the prefix hum, it reminds me of Cao Tu Niang, an acquaintance of mine. Caotou Niang? Your acquaintance, and Nuan really can't believe that there are still people with such a nickname or title. This must not be a name. There is a book called 3 Winds and 10 Evolutions, which records a lot of interesting things. Among them, the Sex Huang volume records the life story of Caotou Niang. You know how many dignitaries you have attracted. I know the 3 Winds and 10 Yans, the 10 crimes that are caused by the 3 bad customs, were formulated by Yi Yin. Is your friend named Caotou Niang from the Shang dynasty? And Nuan said angrily. He actually has a friend whose appearance reverses the appearance of all living beings and looks like a goblin. Even if he knows that he is talking nonsense, it makes Nuan want to be jealous. No, the 3 Winds and 10 Evolutions were formulated by Yi Yin, but the 3 Winds and 10 Evolutions is a book from the Qing dynasty. If it were a woman from the Shang dynasty, I might not be able to remember it. Lu Chang'an shook his head and continued, Caotou Niang is a descendant of a beggar. She married the Zhang family at first, but her husband died. Then she married Huang San, and Huang San died again. At this time, Caotou Niang became a little depressed, so she hired a fake husband. The fake husband is just a husband in name only, who works for her, does housework and farm work for her, and provides for her living. If he is not satisfied with her at all, he will be driven away and another fake husband will be found. There is a steady stream of applicants. Incessantly. Are women in the Qing dynasty so open-minded? And Nuan didn't even care that Lu Chang'an's acquaintance was from the Qing dynasty. There are quite a few such women nowadays. It turns out that licking dogs has been around since ancient times. Social phenomena at any time have universality and individuality. This is just a special case. Cao Tu Niang was a rare tall and slightly plump woman at that time. She was good-looking, good at poetry, and good at cooking and seasoning. She was quite romantic when she was a child, and she was a famous social butterfly. At that time, if people in the city held various banquets and did not invite Cao Tu Niang, not many people would be happy. Even the officials, literati, and elegant people were all hers. Under the skirt, until she was in her 50s or 60s, some teenagers were still pursuing her. After Cao Tu Niang was 60 years old, a wealthy man still lost everything for her. Someone asked him, "What's the point of doing this for such an old woman?" The man said, "You are not me, how can you know how happy I am?" Although he was old, his hair was as black as paint, his complexion was as pale, his body was made of more flesh than bones, and his skin was as smooth as condensed fat. The love he fell in love with was in my generation, and he was safe and sound. Lu Chang'an is not making up stories, and Cao Tu Niang is indeed an acquaintance. Her family has always been a beggar family, but her great-grandfather was the tomb keeper of Lu Chang'an's tomb. He has guarded Lu Chang'an's tomb for 3 generations, knowing full well that there are countless gold, silver, and jewelry in the tomb. But he would rather be a beggar than steal anything from the tomb. Lu Chang'an originally wanted Cao Tu Niang to be his maid, but he was a little displeased because of her too romantic temperament, so he casually asked her what she wanted during the chat. Wish: Cao Tu Niang's wish is to have an eternal appearance. Real ageless appearance is no different from immortality, and Lu Chang'an can't do it, but there is no problem in keeping her youthful for decades. Of course, the method he used was not the way he would treat his beloved. He had no interest in romantic women like Cao Tu Niang who turned all living beings upside down. He was just returning to the evil virtues accumulated by her ancestors. 60 years old, these people have too strong tastes, and Nuan looked stiffly surprised, but she was not too surprised. Lu Chang'an liked to read some weird and interesting legendary notes, so she also read them. Quite a few, knowing how the ancients sometimes behaved, and all kinds of strange talk in modern times are not bad either. If you could have an ageless appearance, would you do it? Lu Chang'an asked, but don't be so romantic. Are you hinting at my mother again? And Nuan didn't answer Lu Chang'an's question because she hurriedly became vigilant and her reaction was too slow. Although Professor Lu is not like Cao Tu Niang, who has always kept herself clean, I feel that Professor Lu is 60 years old, and he is probably as black as paint, with a pale complexion, and his body is more flesh than bone, and his skin is as smooth as gelatin. Lu Chang'an sighed and looked at the dense leaves above his head. Forget it, he was too lazy to consider her opinions and ideas. He couldn't help her. I recommend Urban Super Medical Sage by Broken Bridge Ken Snow, which I am currently reading. This master has written many stories about superheroes in modern life. Compared with Xiaohua's books, it is a different kind of delicacy. You can try it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 391. En Nuan's body fat rate is about 20%, which is actually a very healthy figure, but she can still be a little fleshier. Lu Chang'an doesn't like women with too low body fat rate. After all, the standard reflected in natural evolution is still it is very meaningful that a woman with a normal body fat rate has better reproductive and survival abilities. 25% is a figure that feels a little fleshy. The typical ones are Hans Hizi and Bai Fen. To be precise, it should be Hans Hizi, because Bai Fen is a little thinner than Hans Hizi overall. In addition, En Nuan is tall, and 110 pounds is just right. If she were like other girls who strictly guard against 100 pounds, she would be too thin, like a match. Suddenly hug me, En Nuan said angrily. It didn't matter if Lu Chang'an hugged her, but he picked her up horizontally. Before En Nuan could feel the sweetness of the princess hug, he bumped her and put her down, making En Nuan feel that he was just thinking about her weight data. I have a good figure and I am tall. It seems that as long as I practice my Qin Wei alchemy, I will be fine, Lu Chang'an said objectively. Many girls will have better figures after having boyfriends. I have gained more knowledge. En Nuan blushed and nodded, then gave Lu Chang'an a slap and said angrily, you actually think that I am not perfect? Your shameless confidence is perfect, Lu Chang'an praised. En Nuan pinched her cheeks, which were not thick at all. I'm going to class. En Nuan was a little reluctant to stay together for a while at noon. I also have classes in the afternoon. Then I'm leaving. En Nuan sniffed. She didn't have a cold or a stuffy nose, she just wanted to pretend to be aggrieved and cute. Let's go. Lu Chang'an took her hand. En Nuan discovered that Lu Chang'an got on the bus with her and said in surprise, you skipped class in the afternoon. It's not a good idea to skip class and accompany you in class. Lu Chang'an took the book and said, it's not a good idea to read irrelevant books in your own required classes, but reading books in other classes' required classes is totally fine. En Nuan thought for a while, didn't she and Lu Chang'an have the same required courses? Then I figured out Lu Chang'an's logic. This is the logic of love, that's it. He often skipped classes in high school. For example, the wall in the community fell down, the grape trellis fell down, he had to catch fish in the pond, he forgot to come to class, he sold dog meat, and he sold dog meat again, but he only spent one day with her. Relatedly, her waist was hit by a trolley, and he and she both skipped class. There were other students on the bus, mostly looking out the window with expressionless expressions. There were many college couples, and it was common to hold hands and hug each other. The pier in front of them could also be set on fire. And Nuan had no problem with her top student boyfriend skipping classes. As long as he was willing to skip classes, she would be happy. After all, he is only willing to do this now. Men, all men are like this. After graduation and working, it will be basically impossible for him to stop working and stay at home with him. He scolded him for delaying his career and work, and couldn't understand the importance. Thinking of this, Nuan became shy and touched her cheek. She was actually thinking about living with him after graduation. It was really a bit shameless. Guess what I was thinking just now? Nuan and Lu Chang'an were sitting in the back and found Lu Chang'an looking sideways at him, looking at him with a bit of testing. I'll know by touching your belly. Lu Chang'an looked at her calmly and seriously, then put his hand on her belly. What is this? Nuan asked sheepishly. I want to ask about the roundworms in your stomach, but roundworms can't speak. They can only knock on your intestinal wall to transmit information. I tell them the questions with the frequency of stroking with my palms, and then ask them to answer. Lu Chang'an song. He opened his hand, feeling a little regretful. You only have roundworms in your stomach, how disgusting, and Nuan hit Lu Chang'an on the shoulder, annoyed. Then do you think I know? Ah, do you know? No, Askara said that people nowadays don't keep their worries in their stomachs, but in their heads. But she doesn't have daddy in her head, so she hasn't been there and doesn't understand. Lu Chang'an said even more regretfully. You only have it in your head. I hate you. And Nuan couldn't laugh or cry. Fortunately, it took so long after dinner to tell such a disgusting joke. I'm just looking for an excuse. Lu Chang'an hugged Nuan, who was beating him wildly. I'll slowly let you get used to intimacy first. And Nuan's cheeks were burning, her body shrank stiffly in his arms, she lowered her head and hid her cheek against his chest. This person was really bad. It's definitely of no use at all. I will still be nervous in the future. And Nuan looked forward to it shyly, and decided that if he really wanted to do something bad in the future, she would be as nervous as a zombie baby, motionless. Lu Chang'an and Nuan got off the bus at the School of Business Administration. Nuan still had a slightly messy bangs and shy eyes. Lu Chang'an had a lot of leisure time. He had lived for a long time and did everything slowly. He was neither impatient nor impatient, and of course not urgent to the temptation of a girl. When we came to the classroom, it was a large classroom that could seat 100 or 200 people. Several classes were taught together. Many people may not even know all the classmates in their own class. Lu Chang'an was sitting here and he was not an eye-catching stranger. Several girls who knew Lu Chang'an, Bai Wanwan, Ding Lin, and Gu Meng, all smiled at Lu Chang'an. Only the girl named Zhao Xiaotong glanced at Lu Chang'an and turned away, pulling Bai Wan, who wanted to come over to talk to Lu Chang'an. Wan said something, and then Bai Wanwan sat down and continued talking to her. And Nuan did not sit with Lu Chang'an in the area where the girls gathered. She sat down in the middle and back seat. Lu Chang'an took a look and saw that there were no beautiful girls on the same level as Nuan. However, there were a few men who kept looking back, and then there were 2 or 3 looks that were not so friendly, and not just random looks from strangers, fell on him. Lu Chang'an looked at them one by one. These male classmates were stunned for a moment, and then turned their heads. They had never seen anything like this. I recommend a book called The Great Demon King of Rebellion, a new book by the author of My Sister is an Idol. At first I thought this name was the rebellious Lelich. As always, he is a young man. The beginning is a little depressing, but the follow-up can be expected. There will be an explosion only when there is a low point. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 392. Although it is impossible for the classmates in the large classroom to know each other, since Lu Chang'an is sitting next to An Nuan, there is no doubt that he is a new face. Everyone has some impression of An Nuan, especially those male students who pay attention to An Nuan. It can be confirmed that An Nuan is not close to anyone in these classes. When a new face comes to an unfamiliar environment, he will usually show a friendly or low-key attitude and let others look at him. No matter what the meaning of the looking at the eyes is, silently accepting it is a gesture that everyone takes for granted. Very few people will do this. They looked back one by one, with a look in their eyes like, "Where are you looking at your grandpa?" It seems that there are many people who don't give up on you, Lu Chang'an said to An Nuan regretfully. It's all because you are so good looking. There are little thieves everywhere who are thinking about my girlfriend. I'm hiding my face. An Nuan put the book up and hid her face under the book, only revealing her bangs and blinking eyes. Good idea. The so-called not afraid of thieves stealing, but afraid of thieves remembering me. Obviously I already have some notoriety, why don't these people take me seriously? Really? Basically, you are just friends with classmates. Some people are trying it out, but they are not blatantly poaching you. And Nuan sat up straight again and thought about it carefully. This is indeed the case. There once was a you and the minister has already been beaten. It's good to add friends. If they walk around in your space, they will know how much we love each other. And Nuan rolled her eyes at him, because he never posted anything related to her online, to be precise, except for his Weibo, which was specifically used to hook up with middle-aged women. He didn't post any information online. The most he posted was likes. And reposting some messy things, such as the last time a black woman was imprisoned for murdering a gay man, and after being released from prison, she became a feminist leader and gave speeches to share her life and story. Lu Chang'an happily liked it. At this time, the screen of Lu Chang'an's mobile phone on the table lit up. It was Zhu Huntang who sent the video. Lu Chang'an was flipping through the book without looking at it. Take it. And Nuan pushed Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an then picked up his mobile phone and connected the video. I went back at noon, and now I'm here again, Zhu Huntang said. Almost late. Lu Chang'an saw Zhu Huntang seemed to be on a helicopter. Then I'm going back. Lu Chang'an heard Zhu Huntang turn to Zhongqing and say, go back. What are you doing? Zhu Huntang asked. I'm staying with An Nuan. Lu Chang'an turned the phone camera to An Nuan. An Nuan smiled slightly and waved. After all, it was just a nod of recognition. Oh, hello, goodbye. Zhu Huntang turned off the video. An Nuan was stunned for a moment and suddenly became angry. What does this guy mean? Oh, means I understand. Hello, means hello. Goodbye means everything is okay. Isn't this obvious? Look at the little girl next to her, she seems to have seen a weasel coming to steal her eggs. Her wings are raised and her hair is standing on end. It's from a girl. It expresses distaste without any interest. Hello, it obviously means why is this guy here? Goodbye, it means you'd better not show up when I'm talking to Lu Chang'an next time, An Nuan said angrily. Two palms slapped on the table. After all, she had practiced volleyball, and An Nuan's palms were still very powerful when slapping. The table made a squeaking sound, which attracted attention. An Nuan ignored the strange looks from her classmates and continued to be angry. Full marks for reading comprehension, Lu Chang'an said with great admiration. This woman is so annoying. I heard that she has a good relationship with Qin Yinan. She must be trying to help Qin Yinan. And Nuan remembered the first time she saw Zhu Huntang and Qin Yinan walking together. Qin Yinan can't overcome this hurdle. It's not that I can't expose it, it's that they always provoke me. You're such a jealous person. The direct sign that a woman likes someone is that she is jealous. You are jealous of your mother, you are jealous of Chinyanan, and you love Bifen's vinegar. For the sake of living costs, let's move in together as soon as possible. We won't have to buy vinegar when we cook this way, Lu Chang'an said sincerely. I'm justifiably jealous. Who wants to live with you? And Nuan stammered nervously, quickly looking around and then hitting others in shame. Be careful what you say, they are all classmates in our department. I haven't been to my house for a long time. Let's go play at my house today, Lu Chang'an said with some anticipation. And Nuan just wanted to nod, and then thought that she had just handed the video to Lu Chang'an today, and he would definitely hide under the bed to watch the video today. If she were here, would he move it to the bed and become a nervous person who could not move at all? A moving zombie baby? I'll take you back after dinner, Lu Chang'an decided to get her back first. Okay, and Nuan was relieved, because he always felt that he was not in the best condition now. Girls all hope that the first time they have sex with each other is perfect. He still feels a little bit dissatisfied that his breasts are not big enough. Send your mother a message and tell her, Lu Chang'an reminded her. Yeah, and Nuan nodded and took out his cell phone to send a message to Lu Yuang. It was time for class. And Nuan put away her phone and listened to the teacher's lecture carefully. Lu Chang'an read her book carefully. And Nuan knew very well that even if her boyfriend skipped class, as long as he got his usual grades, there would be no problem in the final exam. He still had to have an attitude. The difference between the two people's college entrance examination scores is not big, but the time spent studying is very different. After the 2 afternoon classes, both Lu Chang'an and An Nuan had no classes. They were about to leave. A boy came over and said to An Nuan, some classmates in the class are going to sing tonight. Please call me your boyfriend, want to go with us? I won't go. An Nuan shook her head, without being subtle or looking for reasons, she was straightforward. Okay then. The boy glanced at Lu Chang'an and smiled. Have fun, goodbye. An Nuan took Lu Chang'an's hand and left. Lu Chang'an pointed at himself and said to An Nuan, look, I'm not jealous at all. Then who said he wanted to kill someone? I do not know. I hate you. The two of them had just walked out of the teaching building when they saw Lu Yuang's red Volvo parked on the side of the road. Lu Yuang lowered the window and said to An Nuan and Lu Chang'an, who were walking over, you want to eat at Lu Chang'an's house? I'll take you there. Bar. An Nuan stood there and looked at Lu Yuang suspiciously. Professor Lu was definitely not so enthusiastic. What did she want to do? The annual update activity starts on December 28 and ends on January 6. Zaiwa's goal is to update 10,000 words every day. It may not be possible to complete the goal in 10 days, but it is certainly not comparable to the current speed. You can click on the blue link at the end of the chapter and give Xiahua a like, so that you can get more monthly ticket red envelopes. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 393. Before Qinyanan and An Nuan came to Hunan University, Professor Lu had always been responsible for the good looks of Hunan University. Before entering the school, many Hunan University students could easily find Professor Lu by searching for information about Hunan University and browsing relevant social media. Many photos and information. An intellectual woman with academic qualifications and a respected social status is far ahead of other types of women in terms of popularity and natural liking for her. Many students would glance at Professor Lu sitting in the car and see An Nuan walking over to talk to Lu Yuang. Almost no one would regard them as mother and daughter, even though their appearance and figure are very similar. Are you so free? An Nuan asked. Yes. Such a frank answer left An Nuan speechless, so she glanced at Lu Chang'an and found that his gaze was slightly off, falling on the bun on the back of Lu Yuang's head. An Nuan then realized that her mother had done a very beautiful haircut today. The bun was estimated to have taken at least an hour. It was extremely complicated, with lots of flowers. There were no stray strands of hair left on her beautiful neck, and her clean and fair skin was especially beautiful. Moving. I know how to make this kind of hair bun, and I'll get it for you next time. Lu Chang'an turned around, met in Nuan's eyes, and said with a smile, blocking the jealousy that was about to overflow from her eyes. Really? And Nuan was a little surprised. Of course it's true. And Nuan then pulled Lu Chang'an into the car, sat in the back seat together, and said to Lu Yuwang with some pride, Lu Chang'an said he can do hair like yours. He will do it for me. Really? My hair today cost me more than 600 yuan. Hair is extremely important to women. Any beautiful woman must have a head of black hair that complements each other. Messy, rough, and slit hair will make people lose their temperament. The overall feeling is downgraded by at least one level. And Nuan felt a little bad when she heard what Lu Yuwang said. Why could she always want to show off Lu Chang'an? What if, like facial cream, Professor Lu asks Lu Chang'an to make an appointment to have his hair done? Fortunately, her mother didn't seem to think of this now, so Nuan decided to drop the topic for the time being. Lu Yuwang looked at the passenger seat and started the car. Nuan used to sit in the passenger seat and accompany Lu Yuwang. What should I eat tonight? Lu Yuwang began to talk to himself. All the restaurants in the area have had their names changed, and it's a bit boring. I don't want to go far away. Lao Ling won't accompany me. There's no point in eating alone. Why don't you go home and cook? I'm too lazy to buy groceries. And Nuan discovered that Lu Chang'an turned a blind eye to Professor Liu's soliloquy. He was playing with her little hands seriously, pinching and touching her fingers one by one, as if he could play with her hand. It seemed like a long time. And Nuan clearly knew that this was Professor Liu's trick, but he still couldn't help but said, how about you eat with us and let Lu Chang'an cook one more dish? Okay, Lu Yuwang said immediately, without any hesitation or politeness. And Nuan's cheeks bulged, she was indeed tricking herself. And Nuan had no choice but to apologize to Lu Chang'an and said, my mother has no place to eat. Okay, Lu Chang'an nodded. And Nuan pouted and showed him her apologetic and cute look, because her mother came with her, and if he had any undue thoughts about her, there was no chance. And Nuan leaned against Lu Chang'an and held Lu Chang'an's arms in her arms to reward him, intertwining her fingers with his and holding them. Turn left ahead, you can park next to that wooden shelf. Yes, I'll go to the vegetable market to buy some food. Lu Chang'an directed Lu Yuwang to drive to the vegetable market. Lu Chang'an got out of the car, and Nuan naturally wanted to be a follower, but Lu Yuwang asked him to wait in the car. What? And Nuan gritted her teeth and asked the person who ruined Lu Chang'an's good deeds. Why are you being mean to me? Lu Chang'an's cooking is delicious. Can I try some of it? Lu Yuwang slapped Nuan. I just think that when a woman is in love and goes to the man's house to be alone, it's like a pig running to a butcher's house, waiting to be killed. Is there this proverb? And Nuan felt that this was Professor Liu's original creation, not to mention comparing her to a pig. He said unhappily, Lu Chang'an is not that kind of person at all. If I don't want to, he won't force me. The key is that you have it written all over your face that you are willing. Lu Yuwang sneered. No, and Nuan was so embarrassed that she punched Lu Yuwang's seat and got out of the car. And Nuan went to the wet market and found Lu Chang'an. Lu Yuwang also got out of the car and observed the environment of the wet market. After taking a few steps, he felt that his hair and elegant cheongsam today did not match the style of the wet market, so he returned in the car. She was not the kind of fairy who wouldn't even go to the vegetable market. It was just that she looked too pretty today and didn't want to go to the vegetable market with all kinds of mixed smells. And Nuan and Lu Chang'an were picking fresh water chestnuts. The stall owner said they were fresh water chestnuts from Dongting Lake. Although it was already the end of the production season, they still looked fresh and tender, so Lu Chang'an decided to pick some. Can this also be used for cooking? And Nuan looked at the water chestnut that looked like a cow's head and said curiously, my mother bought it, and she would boil it with water, then peel it and eat it with boiled peanuts. Eat it the same way. Cooking is a more particular way of eating. Eating it directly can fill your stomach. In ancient times, there was a saying that water chestnuts were used as a vegetable in bad years. Plant water chestnuts deep in the depths to plant rice, and plant lotus in shallow depths. In the past, famine was there are many kinds of water chestnuts in cities, especially in Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Sitting on the train, you can see large areas of water chestnuts. They can be seen everywhere beside ponds in the countryside and deep in swamps. The water towns in June are full of twists and turns. There are often dense blue water chestnuts on the river surface. When the tiny flowers fade, it is time for the water chestnuts to bear fruit. Lu Chang'an recalled the scene and smiled. It's not just the lotus-picking girls who are picking the lotus flowers. It's very moving, and the girl who picks water chestnuts also has many poems. I have gained knowledge again. When it's National Day, let's go to Gao Dui's lotus pond to dig some lotus roots. Okay, Fat Brother said he will come back a day or two early for the National Day. After Lu Chang'an and An Nuan finished buying water chestnuts, they went to buy some meat, vegetables, and edamame. You didn't buy braised vegetables, did you? Lu Yuwang asked. She just saw a braised vegetable seller pushing a cart out of the market. No. Stewed vegetables are strong carcinogens, have extremely high nitrite content, and are very unhygienic. You must not eat braised vegetables. Lu Yuwang popularized knowledge in the circle of friends. It is meaningless to talk about carcinogenesis apart from the dosage. There are too many carcinogens in life, including sunlight, air, and water, which can all cause cancer. Lu Chang'an did not refute, but listened to An Nuan say that Lu Yuwang's perfumes, cosmetics, skincare products, and brand name bags all contained carcinogens, and then Lu Yuwang grumbled and refused to use An Nuan's facial cream for her. So Lu Chang'an felt that it made sense for young couples nowadays not to want to live with their mother-in-law. When I returned to the community, I saw a champagne-colored Bentley sports car parked by the wall. An Nuan said calmly, "This seems to be your cousin's car." Yes, Lu Chang'an nodded, and then Lu Yuwang parked the car. After getting off the car, he saw a van from an electrical appliance store parked under the sycamore tree. Qin Yinan was standing under the tree directing the porters to move the electrical appliances to delivered upstairs. Quick time travel, my son Mo Fang. In those stories where people are time traveled and reborn, there are always one or two unlucky children. The heroine of this book said, "My son is not ready, my mother is here. Please take out your notebook and jot down the key points." 1. The heroine is not yours. The female supporting role is not yours either. Only I am yours. 2. The male protagonist is not yours. The male partner is not yours. Only I am yours. 3. You can't fight or rob, sleep well and get enough, only I am the best to you. This article is flirty and ambiguous, and there is no CP. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 394. Lu Yuwang changed into a pair of high heels before getting out of the car, opened the trunk and called Lu Chang'an to come over and help. Lu Chang'an walked over and took a look. It was a box of genuine wool yanjai. "Come here for dinner, I'm embarrassed to be empty-handed. I heard from Nuanuan that you usually like to drink some wine. I bought this box of wine and kept it in the trunk." Lu Yuwang used the common dialogue of neighbors and friends giving gifts. "Tell Lu Chang'an." Lu Chang'an pulled the receipt out from under the box. "Didn't you buy this today?" Lu Yuwang quickly grabbed the small ticket. You missed the year, and you happened to buy it on today last year." "Oh, what a coincidence." Lu Chang'an picked up the box of wine. An Nuan didn't pay attention here. She was happily walking towards Qin Yinan and said to Qin Yinan, "Teacher Qin, I didn't know you were here. We are preparing to cook. How about I go to the vegetable market to buy some food and let's eat together tonight? Although An Nuan was quite concerned about the past between Professor Lu and Lu Chang'an, it was over after all, and it was an internal conflict within the family. How could An Nuan keep an eye on Professor Lu at this time? Qin Yanan understood the little girl's provocation and said politely, I didn't know you were here, which meant why you came uninvited. I'll go to the vegetable market to buy some food, which meant that Lu Chang'an and I are living together, you know. There is a difference between closeness and distance. Apart from the heroine, I do all the grocery shopping. Let's have something to eat together tonight of course means that you should be sensible and don't bother others by buying groceries. If you have anything to do, can you leave early? You two are living together? Why didn't I know? Qin Yanan, in addition to being easily caught by Zhu Huntang and having two weak points that make it difficult to fight back, is also quite high in rank at other times. After understanding what An Nuan meant, Qin Yanan looked at An Nuan in surprise. Until she blushed. No. I came here with my mother in order to prove that she was not living with Lu Chang'an, and Nuan quickly used Professor Lu as a shield. Being said to be living together, and Nuan still couldn't accept it? There was no way, she was young. A young girl is not as shameless as the old woman in front of her who always thinks about living together. Oh, I just wanted to see if there were any shortcomings in his house, but I couldn't get through when I called him. I came over and took a look. There was nothing in the room, so I bought some household appliances and sent them to him. The move is almost finished. Qin Yanan turned her fingers, and there was a keychain with only one key hanging on it. I'll leave in a moment. Is his door closed? And Nuan stared blankly at the key on Qin Yanan's finger. I have the key to his house, Qin Yanan said with a smile. He didn't often close the door, but Zhou Shuling closed it for him. It was indeed because Qin Yanan had the key to his house that he opened the door. I have the key to his house. I have the key to his house. She has the key to his house. I don't have the key to his house. He didn't give me the key to his house. The key to his house was given to someone else. Why didn't he give me the key to his house? Why did he give the key to his house to someone else? And Nuan looked at Qin Yanan's smiling face, where she was greeting the workers to move things. She smiled and reported to Lu Chang'an what she had bought, how much discount she got, where she bought it, which brand was her favorite, and which color was her favorite. I like it, and told Lu Chang'an to let the refrigerator stand before using it. As if she were the mistress. What does it mean if you drag your mother over for a meal? A woman holds the key to someone else's boyfriend's house, what does that mean to her? If your boyfriend gave the key to another woman, who do you think you are? And Nuan stood expressionless, watching Qin Yanan say hello and leave. There was no doubt that after such a demonstration, Qin Yanan no longer needed to care about An Nuan's reaction and drove away on his own. My silly mother was still marveling that Qin Yanan got such a low discount price. Mom, let's go back. An Nuan took Lu Yuwang's arm, and Lu Yuwang marveled at Lu Chang'an's strength. He picked up the double-door refrigerator and moved it to a different position. Ah, Lu Yuwang was very surprised. What's wrong? Lu Chang'an could see that An Nuan was a little unhappy. He had just carried the wine upstairs, and then was pulled by Qin Yanan to talk, and he didn't notice what happened at all. I'm going back. I don't want to eat here anymore. After An Nuan said that, she turned and walked out of the room. She persisted until now, just because she didn't want to be exposed in front of Qin Yanan. When she saw that Qin Yanan had the key to Lu Chang'an's house, I no longer have any appetite to eat here. It feels like eating at Qin Yanan and Lu Chang'an's home. Lu Yuwang raised his hand and slapped Lu Chang'an on the shoulder, and said angrily, you must have made Nuan unhappy. Lu Yuwang had no choice. Although there was a big conspiracy to be done today, he had to give up now. No matter how big the matter was, it was not as big as his daughter. Lu Chang'an followed and saw An Nuan sitting in the passenger seat of Lu Yuwang's car. Lu Yuwang turned the car, glared at Lu Chang'an angrily, and drove away. An Nuan, finally, for once, she wasn't so easy to coax. Lu Chang'an stood under the sycamore tree and was confused. He already had rich experience in love. However, he was really not the tapeworm in her belly, and he did not have the ability to monitor events from multiple perspectives. How could he know the emotional change at this moment? Why? An Nuan often said I'm going to be angry, but this time she was always waiting for him to coax her. When she expresses that she is very angry, 150 points, in fact, buy her delicious food, or just comfort her with sweet words. Sometimes she still wants to be 750 points angry, but that's basically when her jealousy explodes and she imagines that Lu Chang'an doesn't even come to coax her. Today she didn't say she was angry, that is, she was really angry, the kind that couldn't be coaxed. Since falling in love, there has never been a situation like this, except the last time I heard that Qin Yanan almost became his fiancée. The situation seemed to be more serious this time, because turning around and leaving without crying was definitely more serious than standing in front of him and shedding aggrieved tears. It seemed that it was still related to Qin Yanan. Lu Chang'an took out his mobile phone and was about to call Qin Yanan, but then he remembered that An Nuan waited until Qin Yanan left before having an attack, which meant that she didn't want Qin Yanan to know that she was angry, so she went to ask Qin Yanan directly. Inevitably put An Nuan at a disadvantage. Lu Chang'an thought about it and felt that there must be a blank area in his thinking and analysis. This blank area would make it useless to think about it, so he stopped thinking about it. Let's cook first, then eat braised freshwater chestnuts and white sliced pork in the evening, and then cook some edamame to go with wine. In fact, it may not be necessary for me to recommend a book in the I series, because the readers probably have a lot of overlap with each other, such as I'm Really Not a God by the Master of Dao Yuchen. In addition, the update will start on the 28th, but the double monthly pass will not start until the 29th. So like most authors, the 10,000 word update on the 28th will be completed before 23:59 in the evening. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 395. Because Zhou Shuling has been inventing new dishes, chicken soup and pork bone soup are always available in her refrigerator. Lu Chang'an went to get a box of frozen chicken soup and cooked water chestnuts. Water chestnuts are fresh and have a light taste. They are best paired with chicken soup. After simmering for a stick of incense, most of the water chestnuts floated up. Lu Chang'an picked up the water chestnuts that were sinking in the bottom of the soup and threw them away. He poured some of the chicken soup out and added chestnuts, and the ginkgo is simmered together, and the taste is tender, glutinous, and sweet, which is really mouth-watering. Ginkgo is the seed kernel of ginkgo, which has medicinal and edible uses. The edible ginkgo used by Lu Chang'an has a refreshing and non-bitter taste. Ginkgo grows slowly and is also known as the gongsun tree. Zhou Wenhua said that if a male grows a seed, his grandson will eat it. Lu Chang'an, I planted it before, and I didn't think it was that slow, just so. After all, it used to be uncommon to become a grandfather in your 20s and 30s, but now this age group is rich in a creature called singles. As for the white sliced meat, northerners often think that even if southerners cook it in the same way, it will not taste good. Lu Chang'an made the sauce to go with it, without thinking that it would look like the northern style and have its own flavor. Speaking of white meat, we can't help but think of Cixi. Although this woman was mostly criticized by later generations, among the ruling empresses of the Qing dynasty, there was no problem in ranking 2 or 3 behind Yongzheng. She ate white meat, and she was I am very particular about choosing a piglet weighing 70 to 80 pounds that is specially fed with concentrated feeding. 3 or 4 days before slaughter, I will feed the specially prepared feed. 2 hours before slaughter, I will send a little eunuch to chase the pig all over the yard with a bamboo board. If you run, the bamboo board can only fall on the pig's buttocks, until the pig can't run anymore, then you start to kill the pig. In this way, the essence and blood of the pig are concentrated on the pig's hind legs. Such pig hind leg meat is use it to make white sliced meat, which makes it extra sweet. Lu Chang'an cooked the edamame again and soaked it in autumn oil. Instead of opening Lu Yuang's Wulianjai, he went to An Xie's shop and bought a bottle of Red Star Urquatu and drank it. Wine, appetizers, deck chairs, cattail leaf fans. The bright moon is in the sky, the sound of autumn is in the trees, and the leisurely mood is in my heart. It didn't seem good to have such a stable and leisurely time, so Lu Chang'an shook the cattail fan, spit out the edamame skin, wiped his hands, took out his mobile phone and sent a text message to An Nuan. Lu Chang'an is a person who is willing to take the initiative and lower his profile. He does not always show the pride of a special human being. He is more often willing to show the attitude of an ordinary college student. Is there any problem for an ordinary college student to take the initiative to send a message to his girlfriend who is the school belle when he is angry, even though he does not know the reason and feels that it has nothing to do with him? When a man and a woman are in love, they are particularly tolerant and low profile based on their doting and affection for each other. This is just the necessary demeanor for men in love. Only when you give up your self-esteem and cater to someone without any bottom line is it called dog licking. Many people can't tell the difference. Once the man lowers his attitude, he will yell that he is a licker and has an untouchable glass heart. After Lu Chang'an sent the message, nothing happened, so he went to the doghouse and shouted Lu Sin and went to walk the dog. He tied the leash on the dog's collar. Although the dog followed him, it didn't dare to show any aggression at all, just like a cat by the fireside in winter. This is also a gesture of comfort to passers-by, and it is also a regulation that must be followed when feeding large dogs. As Lu Chang'an, whose words and deeds are in line with the core values of socialism, of course he will have such a positive and correct gesture. Just like Zhu Huntang's dog bit Wu Fan, in fact, the reason Zhu Huntang did not bear too much responsibility was because she put a leash on the dog. If not, the consequences would be even more disastrous and the responsibility would be heavier. Zhou Dongdong went to the rice noodle shop after school to do his homework. Otherwise, it would be more interesting to take a dog and a stupid child for a walk. Watching her repeatedly try to climb up Lucine's back and fail is the fun part. Lu Chang'an used Zhou Dongdong's clothes to wrap the dog's head several times, just to make it better understand and get used to Zhou Dongdong's smell. Is stupidity contagious? This dog would probably become stupid. Lu Chang'an glanced at Lucine's dull eyes, expressed a little sympathy and expectation, and walked out of the community. Old man Qian was running at night when he saw Lu Chang'an walking his dog. He ran backwards and followed him. This dog is good. Lu Chang'an nodded. You have a high tone. This is what makes old man Qian most unhappy with Lu Chang'an. He often doesn't speak and nods to show that he has no interest in talking nonsense with you. I'll let the dog bite you, believe it or not. Lu Chang'an pretended to let go of the leash. His girlfriend got angry and ran away. She was in a bad mood. Isn't it human nature to let a dog bite someone? I don't believe it. Of course old man Qian didn't believe it, but such a big dog still made people feel a little scared. He didn't bother to pay attention to Lu Chang'an and ran forward again. Lu Chang'an stood there and thought about it. Should he set up a study class for middle-aged and elderly people and hold some interest improvement classes in the evening to gather these idle old men and women to improve their spiritual civilization and promote the progress of social civilization? It seems quite interesting to learn some music, chess, calligraphy and painting, poems and songs, tell ancient and modern legends, etc. If you don't have time, you can also arrange for Shangguan Dandan to give them lessons and establish a learning circle for the elderly to make friends. It must be the same as Shangguan Dandan also has a common language and mentality with the elderly, and they get along easily. Just think about it. In fact, I still like to play cards and mahjong. If they all go to study, why would I go? What's more, Mahjong is also an intangible cultural heritage. Lu Chang'an continued to walk with the dog, and soon he came to the hospital he had visited a few days ago. He looked up at the grey hospital exterior wall, and couldn't help but think of the scene when the hospital was under construction in full swing. Then he saw Zhong in black professional clothes. Qing walked out of the hospital. Zhong Qing was rarely seen wearing trousers today, which made her legs straight and her sleeves long. 2 buttons of her collar were unbuttoned. The dazzling white was quite moving in the night. When she saw Lu Chang'an, she smiled slightly and adjusted her glasses. He brushed aside a piece of hair that was blocking his glasses and walked up to Lu Chang'an. "Is that Wu Fan still living here?" Lu Chang'an asked. "Zongqing's appearance here is unlikely to be due to other things. For example, girls of this age are often troubled by unexpected pregnancies and usually choose professional counterparts." "Hospital?" "Yes, in fact, there is no problem for him to return to Zonghai for training now." Zhong Qing pressed his chest, bent down, and touched the third high-ranking Templar's dog head. "Then he is quite happy. A decent beauty like you comes to visit him every day." Zhong Qing rolled his eyes at Lu Chang'an. "Do you think I am as idle as you? His parents came from Zonghai today. I came over to confirm the follow-up compensation matters with them and sign a settlement agreement. Do you need anything like this? Aren't you the third wife's assistant? Logically speaking, your status is quite high in the Baojun group. Why do you always help Zhu Huntang do some messy things? Injury by large dogs has always been a sensitive matter at the forefront. If it was not handled well, Wu Fan made trouble in the media and was promoted as the eldest daughter of the Zhu family, allowing dogs to commit crimes. It was not a big deal, but it would be very annoying. Maybe it will affect third Mrs. Campus study life." Zhong Qing stroked the dog's head and said, "Miss Zhu family is the tone of the media." "I see. Why is this dog so weak?" Zhong Qing was a little surprised, "but it's not easy for it to have survived in your hands for so many days." After all, Zhong Qing was an eyewitness to Lu Chang'an's killing of 2 high-level Templars. She thought that this one would be eaten by Lu Chang'an again, even though she had seen Lu Chang'an walking around with a live dog 2 days ago. "I changed its name to Lu Sin. The name given by Zhu Huntang is unlucky," Lu Chang'an introduced. "How can it be unlucky?" "It's not because of you." Zhong Qing stood up and stretched out his hand with some interest. "Give me a walk." Lu Chang'an handed the traction rope to Zhong Qing. Lu Sin suddenly became more lively. He stood up, hugged Zhong Qing's thigh and shook his head. He stuck out his tongue and licked the back of Zhong Qing's hand. "Let's have a supper together," Zhong Qing suggested. Regarding late-night snacks, Lu Chang'an would not refuse an invitation as long as it was an acquaintance, not someone he disliked or someone he had no interest in talking to. "How is college life?" "It's okay, except that my desk mate is a little annoying." Zhong Qing smiled. There was no such thing as being at the same table in college, but freshman classes were basically held together, and the third lady liked to sit next to Lu Chang'an. This was what Zhong Qing knew and reported. "Miss Third still maintains an extremely strong interest in you, but it is not the kind between men and women." Zhong Qing may actually know Lu Chang'an better than An Nuan, and slightly less than Qin Yanan and Zhu Huntang. "You mean I don't have the charm of a man?" Lu Chang'an said, dissatisfied. "That's not true. I admit that you are very charming as a man, even a little too charming. It's just like many men will appreciate beautiful women when they see them, but they may not take any action to pursue her." Zhong Qing sighed. He said, "It's a pity that some girls are not so sensible." Of course Zhong Qing was talking about his cousin. Didn't this silly girl realize that the third lady was so interested in Lu Chang'an and stayed outside the line of ambiguity? "My cousin is not so smart." When chatting with Zhong Qing, the topic would come to Lu Chang'an from time to time. "What is the difference between this and a moth flying into a flame?" "Huh? I remember you didn't look at me like this before, Lu Chang'an said in surprise. Zonking's cheeks were slightly red, remembering that he once told Zhu Huntang that he suspected Lu Chang'an was partnering with a middle-aged madam. He brushed his hair with a little embarrassment. A mature woman's slanted bangs were like leaves, and she was very charming. Stingy, I still remember it. Zhong Qing opened the car door and asked Lu Xin to squat behind. Lu Chang'an sat in the passenger seat. Women are like this. Men can't remember their mistakes. If they do, they will be stingy. But they will never forget the mistakes of men. They remember them clearly in a small notebook and can take it with them every time they quarrel. Come out and read it, and become a more justified reason for yourself to be angry. Of course, Zhong Qing was not as leisurely as Lu Chang'an, who could walk everywhere. She decided to go to the barbecue stall by the river and said to Lu Chang'an, "Do you mind if I change my shoes? You don't have foot odor, do you?" Zhong Qing wanted to insert the heel of her high-heeled shoe into his nostrils to ensure that even if there was foot odor, it would be fine. Zhong Qing changed his shoes and drove off, asking Lu Chang'an, "Do you want to call me Bai Hui?" Zhong Qing just asked casually. If Lu Chang'an agreed, she would say forget it. She was in the dormitory today and it was inconvenient to come over. Zhong Qing is a beauty, but Lu Chang'an is sure that based on the current level of observation, the most beautiful thing about Zhong Qing is her feet, which are not far behind those of several stunning beauties. No, she doesn't like eating goat eggs. Lu Chang'an shook his head. What's the reason? Zhong Qing could not understand Lu Chang'an's brain circuit at all. Maybe Lu Chang'an attracted the third lady because his way of thinking was similar to that of the third lady. When they arrived at the barbecue stall, Zhong Qing ordered a plate of plain lamb chops without any seasoning for Lu Sin, and ordered his favorite mutton eggs for Lu Chang'an, and then started to read and order slowly with the menu. Drink some wine, Lu Chang'an asked for a beer. No, I'll have to find a driver later, something happened 2 days ago. Someone hired a driver after dinner, got in the car and kept talking on the phone. But after he made the call, he realized something was wrong. The driver actually sat in the car. It was no longer possible there. He hurriedly stopped the car with the handbrake. When 120 arrived, he said that the driver could not be saved. The key is that the autopsy could not find out the cause of death. Do you think it is scary or not? Zhong Qing said fearfully, I don't even think about it. Dare you find a driver? Life is unpredictable, live in the moment. Lu Chang'an raised the beer can. Zhong Qing didn't sigh too much because of other people's things. She just felt a little offended. She ordered the order and handed it to the waiter. She already knew Lu Chang'an's taste and didn't ask him what else he wanted to order. Life is impermanent, I agree with this sentence. When I was a child, I thought I would kill my dad sooner or later, but I didn't expect that he would get what he wanted when he died in a car accident while driving drunk. Zonking's lips curled up slightly, rooted in his childhood. The hatred in people is always particularly difficult to eliminate. You don't agree with living in the moment. I won't argue with you. Zhong Qing showed a sly and knowing smile. Bai Hui said that no one has ever talked about you, so I won't talk about life or ideals with you, and I am not a young artistic woman. It's a pity that artistic young women are easy to deceive, Lu Chang'an said regretfully. Zhong Qing looked as if he was surprised, his eyes moved, showing a bit of shyness. You would lie to me. Well, I plan to trick you into going to Keifu Temple. I heard that their temple has been booming recently and is short of manpower. They are looking for monks and nuns with university diplomas. There is an agency fee of 30,000 yuan for introducing one. Lu Chang'an became even more regretful. Zhong Qing became a little angry and opened a bottle of water and drank several sips before he calmed down. Therefore, Lu Chang'an was too high-ranking. Even if there was a slight hint of a joke between men and women in his words, he would dig a hole and bury it. Not to mention my little cousin whose bust is disproportionate to her brain size. Lu Chang'an laughed and drank a can of beer. I have always felt that men who are truly capable rarely talk too much. Especially those who are powerful in fists and kicks, they don't bother to talk too much. Zhongqing was a little strange. Apart from those literary and artistic works, the practitioners he saw in real life, are mostly taciturn, and can often express themselves with their eyes, and can intimidate provocative people without saying a word. What about Lu Chang'an? He did make some moves, which were very scary, but most of the time, he talked too much and liked to use words to deal with things too much. Those are all people who are not powerful enough. Lu Chang'an shook his head, because no one I have met so far can fight in front of me, so I must lower my level. Only in a battle of words can human beings fight. I talk to each other as equals. This is the interesting part. Do you know the loneliness of being invincible? Zhongqing didn't think Lu Chang'an was talking nonsense. A person who wasn't strong enough would not get the attention of the third young lady and the third wife. However, it sounded like he was too good at deceiving others and was always talking about falsehoods. Why don't you become a lawyer? Zhongqing asked. It's meaningless to treat your hobby as a career. A favorite song will make your ears hurt if you listen to it on loop for a month. If you eat 10 portions of a favorite dish for 3 days in a row, you will see later I feel like vomiting. Lu Chang'an shook his head. What's more, being a lawyer is not a profession where one can be happy. Okay, no matter what you say, it's all your fault. Lu Chang'an said that Zhongqing was right. After eating and drinking for a while, Zhongqing suggested taking a group photo and she wanted to post it on WeChat Moments. Lu Chang'an was eating goat eggs and ignored her. Zhongqing took a photo and sent it to Moments. Then he looked at his phone and said to Lu Chang'an, within 1 minute, someone will reply, where are you eating and you didn't take me with you? I want to come. Women really like to look for trouble. Lu Chang'an continued to eat his own. Zhongqing picked up the phone and pointed proudly at Bai Hui's reply, where are you? Take me, I want to eat too. Free. After Lu Chang'an finished eating the mutton eggs, he started to open the lamb chops and eat the meat. The hand-shredded lamb chops here are not like the lamb chops in many places where only a thin layer of meat is scraped off the bones, which is steamed and then marinated. After being lightly grilled, it is served. It is served as a dipping sauce, which retains the characteristics of the mutton to a greater extent, rather than eating a mouthful of seasoning. Oops, my aunt saw it. Zhongqing saw Bai Hui's mother commenting, who is this with? He quickly deleted the post he just posted on Moments, and sure enough, his aunt sent a message with, who is this with? You look okay, what kind of job do you do? Bring it back and let's see. These 3 consecutive questions are often encountered by girls of Zhongqing's age. Although they have a bad relationship with their father's relatives, they still have a bad relationship with them. The relatives on my mother's side have a very normal and warm relationship. You women just like to do things like this that are asking for trouble. Lu Chang'an cut some mutton and gave it to Zhongqing. Zhongqing was also a little annoyed. She had not been able to think about this issue in recent years. She casually put the car keys on the table and said, forget it, what's the point of eating mutton without drinking beer? You can accompany me back later, I'd better call a driver. Lu Chang'an nodded and ate someone else's midnight snack. The last time he ate Zhongqing's midnight snack, he picked up the body and threw it in the hotel. This time, after eating her midnight snack, he still had to do something. But, Lu Chang'an seemed to have some ideas. He looked at Zhongqing's car keys, picked them up and took a look, and gained some understanding. Hand. Zhongqing took back the car key, slapped Lu Chang'an's hand, and wiped the car key clean with a tissue. What do you think about the room key? Lu Chang'an asked the woman in front of him. She was an outsider with a normal IQ and no interest in it. Her answer was for reference. I haven't looked at it much, I don't have any room keys, including the third lady's room. It's not like you don't know which door has the key, Zhongqing asked strangely. I mean, what does the key to a man's house mean in the eyes of a woman? Lu Chang'an has always understood that some things are not taken seriously by him, but they are another matter in the eyes of others, but people's there are always some flaws in thinking, and even such omissions in the simplest and most obvious things are very rare and common. The meaning is very extraordinary. It is simply a symbol of status, security, and cultivation. It has an unparalleled status, Zhongqing said expectantly, feeling a little dreamy. Oh, I usually don't lock the door. Lu Chang'an chewed the delicious mutton in his mouth. Such a man is generally a carefree person. Anyone can get into his house. Needless to say, Zhongqing, who had drunk some wine, lost his cautious words like Secretary Zhong. He smiled and pointed at Lu Chang'an. Did you just give the keys to your house to someone else casually? Does giving it to one's relatives count as giving it to others casually? Lu Chang'an asked Zhongqing, but it was useless to ask Zhongqing this question. It doesn't count. Zhongqing smiled and said, here, cheers. After the barbecue, Bai Hui didn't come because Zhongqing just teased her and didn't tell her the place. He also said that when she came, he and Lu Chang'an would leave. Zhongqing called for a driver, who laid out the seat covers and drove with gloves on. Zhongqing held Lu Xin and sat in the back, while Lu Chang'an sat in the passenger seat. Lu Chang'an noticed that the driver's eyes were still glancing at Zhongqing. Such a woman was drunk. If she didn't have a companion to accompany her, it would be risky to call the driver alone. Zhongqing was not as drunk as she was last time. She drove the car to the underground parking lot and left as a chauffeur. She did not ask Lu Chang'an to help her go upstairs. She waved goodbye to Lu Chang'an and watched him leave with the dog before walking in. Elevator. Returning to the room, taking off his coat and pants, Zhongqing lay on the bed, watching the lights of the houses downstairs falling like stars. The phone rang and Bai Hui called and asked if Zhongqing had arrived home safely and if Lu Chang'an was still in Zongqing's room. What was he doing in my room? He walked downstairs to me and left. Zhongqing smiled. Look at how petty you are you afraid that I'll molest him? Cousin. I didn't. I was afraid that he would molest you, Bai Hui said quickly. Lu Chang'an, he is such a clean person that no one would think he is hiding any trace of obscenity or darkness, Zhongqing said with some emotion. If Bai Hui could really find such a boyfriend, she would be very good at it. Very happy for Bai Fen. Is he like this? I think he sometimes looks at my breasts secretly, Bai Hui retorted with an embarrassed hum. He is a very suitable person to be a friend. My cousin doesn't have many friends in Junsha, and she is not very familiar with Lu Chang'an, but it is very comfortable to have dinner and chat with this person. He will not look at you secretly like some people. Or your endless words and actions are full of temptations. You have to guard against these people looking for opportunities in you, and you have to be careful not to give others opportunities. Zhongqing implicitly reminded Bai Hui, with conditions like our sisters, this kind of precaution is necessary, so I am always very tired. When I get drunk with Lu Chang'an, I feel that there is no problem at all, it is very relaxed, it is good to be friends with this kind of person. Bai Hui is not stupid either. Her cousin said that they are suitable friends. She also understood what it meant. She looked at the diary in her hand, nodded over the phone, and said silently, I know. It's good to know. I'm going to take a shower. Zhongqing hung up the phone and lay down on the sofa again before walking to the bathroom. After eating and drinking, he didn't want to move. If there was a man, how nice would it be if my friend could greet me at this time, take off my clothes, wash myself cleanly, wrap myself in a quilt and put him on the bed, and put a glass of water next to the bed. I thought too much and fell asleep. Lu Yuang drove An Nuan home. An Nuan didn't say a word along the way. Lu Yuang knew that his daughter was actually stubborn, so he scolded Lu Chang'an in his heart and wondered what was going on. Although he didn't understand what happened, Lu Yuang was not a judge. He was neither fair nor gentle, nor was he gentle and generous. No matter what, it was always necessary to scold Lu Chang'an first. After returning home, and Nuan held the meat at the door and placed it on the balcony, then sat on the sofa and watched TV. Lu Yuwang felt that he was not in the mood to cook today, so he ordered a few dishes from his usual private restaurant for delivery. After dinner, Lu Yuwang made tea, and Nuan went to get a ball of yarn and knitting needles. Lu Yuwang sat next to her and searched "Why is my girlfriend angry?" on her mobile phone. She felt that she was very smart in choosing this question and chose the right position and angle. However, after searching, she realized that it was a riddle for the ages. You came back to knit without saying a word. Are you playing the heroine of a romance novel? Lu Yuwang said angrily. And Nuan pursed her lips, sniffed, and ignored Lu Yuwang. Did you find out about Lu Chang'an's cheating, or change of heart, or maybe he lied to you? Lu Yuwang thought for a while. For a talented young man like Lu Chang'an, these possibilities are quite high. No, and Nuan shouted loudly, and then bowed her head to knit a sweater. What can happen then? It turned out that these were not the things that made women heartbroken. Lu Yuwang suddenly lost interest. Then you can get angry slowly. I'm watching TV. So Lu Yuwang took some hazelnuts, pine nuts and other nuts, washed cherries, blueberries and other foods she thought were healthy and placed them in front of her, and watched TV with relish. After watching for a while, Lu Yuwang wiped his tears and pushed Nuan next to him. It's so touching. Look, the male protagonist has cancer, and he is taking care of the heroine who also has cancer without telling her. The heroine's cancer will be cured, and the male protagonist's cancer will die, Nuan said expressionlessly. Don't spoil it. Lu Yuwang slapped his daughter dissatisfied. What if they both get better in the end? Stop dreaming. How could these stupid screenwriters give such an ending in order to cater to stupid audiences? And Nuan felt that she was a bit violent today. Who are you calling stupid? I think you are stupid. You lose your temper for no reason and knit sweaters when you go home. You look like a stupid woman who has lost her head in love. Lu Yuwang sneered. I want to knit sweaters, towels, woolen pants, and woolen hats. I'm starting to practice now. When winter comes, my skills will be very good. Then I will give them to Lu Chang'an, and Nuan said angrily. Aren't you angry with him? Lu Yuwang didn't understand her logic. It was a bit difficult to understand. The heroine in romance novels is angry and waits for the hero to coax her. She tried her best and used 108 ways to coax her. Methods, such as booking out the entire restaurant, placing only one dining table in the center, surrounding it with candles and roses arranged in a heart shape, etc. Yeah, and Nuan has been depressed for so long, but she actually wants to talk. Girls are very good at keeping silent in front of their boyfriends, but they definitely want to expose the stupid things that men do with their best friends and the like. If I'm angry, I'll beat someone up and knit him a sweater. Lu Yuwang still looked at her with Nuan's crazy eyes. I only hit him when I'm not angry, and Nuan raised the knitting needle. I want to prove that I am the best girlfriend. When I give these to him, he will know how good I am. He knows how wrong it is to make me angry, and he knows that making me angry will make him regret and heartache, so he will have a long memory. Then you don't have to wait until winter to reconcile with him. Lu Yuwang didn't believe it. And Nuan was stunned for a moment, lowered her head and didn't want to speak anymore, and continued to knit. Lu Yuwang was too lazy to pay attention to her. The girl's behavior in love was completely illogical and incomprehensible. TV was still good to watch. How could the male and female protagonists on TV be so awkward and unreasonable? They even got cancer together. It was really touching. Lu Yuwang wiped the corners of his eyes while eating cherries. And Nuan knitted for a while, then picked up her phone and looked at the messages from Lu Chang'an. She was not like other people's boyfriends who could send countless text messages and make countless missed calls so that their girlfriends could send them to their friends. Circle to show off. And Nuan didn't expect this. She didn't just think that Lu Chang'an had cheated, changed his mind, and had an affair with Qin Yinan, but Qin Yinan had the key to his house, which was really unacceptable. He had to give her an explanation. As for Chinyanan, there is no doubt that this woman saw that An Nuan cared about her, so she knew how to make An Nuan furious. Did she ask Lu Chang'an for her key, or did Lu Chang'an give it to her? This point is very important. An Nuan wanted to ask Lu Chang'an when he thought of this, but he couldn't help it. He should take the initiative to explain this matter. If he doesn't be more reserved now, he will care less about himself in the future. Feel it? Mom, how do you feel about Chinyanan? An Nuan pushed Lu Yuwang, who was wiping her tears. I don't feel anything, colleague, but she was able to get a discount on electrical appliances, which is really amazing. You have to know those who sell electrical appliances. They would rather give gifts than discounts, especially TVs. I have a friend who is the manager of the store, said that for bargains under 5,000 yuan, you basically lose money on each one. I'm telling you where Chinyanan is, and Nuan was very helpless. Yeah, it's a high-end brand of electrical appliances, with big profits, and you can get some discounts, which is also very good. I really like the rice cooker she bought for Lu Chang'an. It only costs less than 5,000 yuan. I saw it in the mall. The same model I got is at least 7,000 yuan, so I'm a bit reluctant to part with it. Next time I meet her, I'll ask her if she can get one for me too. Chinyanan is my love rival, and Nuan listened to her chattering on the rice cooker, and had to remind her a little embarrassingly that her love rival was actually an old woman. Can people not be embarrassed if they found out? Lu Yuwang pressed pause, diverted his attention from his favorite rice cooker, and looked at An Nuan in disbelief. Are you kidding me? Isn't Chinyanan Lu Chang'an's cousin? Do you think this is a feudal society? I'm not in the mood to joke. They are distant relatives, and we don't know how many miles to get together. It turns out that Chinyanan's family also wanted them to get engaged, but Lu Chang'an refused. But I think this woman has not given up. An Nuan said with great suspicion that although there are still many feudi demons nowadays, they are biological siblings. I have never heard of a distant cousin being so devoted to his cousin. No way. Chinyanan looks a little younger than me, Lu Yuwang admitted somewhat unhappily. She is still 25 or 6 years old. Lu Chang'an is as old as you. With such an age difference, what are you thinking about at home? How do I know? Anyway, Lu Chang'an has no such thoughts about her. An Nuan whispered. Have you had a quarrel with Lu Chang'an about this matter? It's not noisy, he told me on his own initiative. What did he say? I forgot. I was crying at the time, but I stopped being angry after being coaxed by him. And Nuan covered her face. Useless. I'm going to stay angry today for a long time so that I won't be able to be coaxed out of my anger by him. Then you get angry when you see Chinyanan. He coaxed you well this time, but you will still be angry next time. Do you want Lu Chang'an to kill Chinyanan? Lu Yuwang said angrily. Today is Chinyanan holding the key to Lu Chang'an's house. She is showing off the key to Lu Chang'an's house in front of me, and Nuan fell on the sofa and kicked her feet wildly. Didn't she buy electrical appliances for Lu Chang'an? It's normal to have a key. Could it be that she and the master were waiting downstairs after buying the electrical appliances? Lu Yuwang didn't think this was a big deal. She showed off that key, and Nuan couldn't bear it. If she really has an affair with Lu Chang'an, does she have the courage? I'm going to be angry anyway. Speak some sense. I've made everything clear to you, that's it, you don't understand. And Nuan sat up and continued knitting. Watch your TV. Do I understand? Lu Yuwang pressed play nonchalantly and continued watching TV. Lu Chang'an took his dog and wandered outside Bailong Center. A passage facing the street on the first floor was transformed into the entrance of a trendy brand store. There are many scenes suitable for taking pictures. It is a popular place for girls like Bai Hui. Of course there is a fee. This reminded Lu Chang'an of the photo studio. Since the birth of the photo studio, the background wall has been an indispensable part of it, and it remains so until now. It has just changed from a simple picture background to a three-dimensional set. Thanks to mobile phone photography and the development of this kind of filter app, and the birth of such trendy photo studios, is equivalent to the fact that the photo studio does not even need to prepare cameras, and a series of procedures such as developing and framing are also omitted. If I get married in the future, would it be okay to take a few selfies as wedding photos? Just as he was thinking about these things, the internal merchants were closed, and Zhou Shuling came out holding Zhou Dongdong, who was carrying his school bag and preparing to go home. Business is good today, but customers generally complain that there are too few types of food. When Zhou Shuling saw Lu Chang'an, she immediately reported the business, with a smile on her face like a spring breeze. I have to work harder to invent some new dishes. You slowly discover it? I think it's good after I eat it. Lu Chang'an nodded. Zhou Shuling is a little aggrieved. You are so picky. People in the store said the pig's trotter's noodles that they made themselves were good. Zhou Dongdong ran over, hugged Lu Chang'an's thigh, and climbed onto Lu Xin's back. However, this dog is not short in height. Zhou Dongdong's size determines that she must be a short-legged child. Lu Xin bent his hind legs a little, and Zhou Dongdong finally climbed up. Before he could be happy, he fell from the other side. Oops, I rolled down, Zhou Dongdong said while lying on the ground. Okay, now is the teaching scene. Lu Chang'an lifted Zhou Dongdong up. You used the rolling character very accurately. Generally speaking, the falling motion of an object after moving a certain distance on a plane, using the rolling character, it fully shows that this is a round object, and for objects of other shapes, we can just say that it will fall. Miaun kid, Zhou Dongdong understood what Brother Chang'an meant very tactfully. You are a stupid kid. Zhou Shuling frowned slightly and expressed her dissatisfaction with Lu Chang'an. Why do I feel that she is just a little bad at studying when she is with me, and the rest is quite normal? Why do I feel that when you are here? Where is she stupid? Look at her, she's crawling again, and you'll trip over your head later. Zhou Dongdong repeated the falling motion of the round object. Because you are also a stupid mother. You can't compare. Do you understand? Lu Chang'an reminded Zhou Shuling to be self-aware. It turns out that, Zhou Shuling quickly gave Lu Chang'an an annoyed roll of her eyes before she could think of the word. Lu Chang'an handed the leash to Zhou Dongdong, and she gave up trying to climb on Lu Xin's back. However, she put her skull bag on the dog's back, but the skull bag only passed through Lu Xin's two front legs, so naturally it could not be fixed. On the back, Zhou Dongdong struggled to hold his skull bag and let the dog carry it all the way. Actually, she has to work hard herself, and so does the dog. Zhou Shuling laughed at Zhou Dongdong again. Children's fun never lies in maximizing the benefits of doing things, and it has nothing to do with how to complete it easily and effectively. Using your own adult thinking to laugh at children's fun is the real stupidity. Lu Chang'an thought for a while. You can go tomorrow morning. Why don't you buy a pig's head to make up for it? You're the one who wants to eat the pig's head. Zhou Shuling scolded and admired her at the same time. Although Lu Chang'an always liked to make fun of others, his knowledge was really much better than hers. Please vote for the monthly ticket, and the 10,000-word chapter will be completed. I recommend a book called My Girlfriend Wants to Stab Me to Death. The title of the book is very interesting. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 396. Speaking of pig heads, in addition to pig head meat and pig brains being delicious ingredients, the remaining pig faces are perfect for making cured meats. The specialty of Leping Yongshan in the neighboring province is the cured pig head. The production process is complicated. It is smoked with sugarcane bagasse for nearly half a month. When it is eaten, it is steamed in a large wooden steamer and placed in the basin. Everyone gathers around and cuts it with a knife. Peeling it off piece by piece and eating it with your hands is a traditional custom during the local lantern festival. Nowadays, the weather is getting cooler, but the temperature is still high. Smoked bacon is only suitable for storage in the refrigerator. It is troublesome to defrost and slice it when eating, and the flavor is not preserved. Lu Chang'an plans to hang bacon and sausages on the balcony in winter. Cured pig face, waxed pig trotters, waxed pig belly and so on. Smoked products are also frequently listed on the cancer list. Of course it is not good to eat them every day, but Lu Chang'an doesn't care. Eating whatever you want is one of the freedoms you pursue in life. Lu Sin helped Zhou Dongdong carry his skull bag back. Zhou Dongdong finally breathed a sigh of relief. He was tired from holding his skull bag along the way. He sat on the steps and rested for a while before climbing upstairs with his skull bag. Lu Chang'an opened the door. After Zhou Shuling muttered why she didn't lock the door, she saw the new electrical appliances in Lu Chang'an's house and wanted to take a look. What a big TV! Zhou Dongdong ran over and hugged the big TV in the living room. Brother Chang'an, can I come down often to watch TV? No, Lu Chang'an cruelly refused. Zhou Dongdong opened his mouth and looked at Lu Chang'an blankly, not expecting to be rejected at all. The TV is given to you, take it back to your home and watch it, Lu Chang'an said with disgust. Every time something delicious appears on the TV, you have to reach out and grab it. If I see such behavior often, I can't stand it. Zhou Dongdong couldn't help but reach out and scratch in front of the TV screen. Will he do this every time? Don't even remember. How can this be done? Zhou Shuling shook her head quickly. She still owed Lu Chang'an 200,000 yuan. Although the business of the rice noodle shop was getting better and better, she deducted it from her salary and dividends every month, and gradually it was not enough to pay it back. Long. There are two, and one is in the bedroom. Why do I need two such big TVs? I'll give you one. Give me yours to put in the bedroom, and I'll move the one in the bedroom to the living room. Lu Chang'an waved his hand and signaled Zhou Shuling not to be too polite. You can pay me back when you have spare money to buy a new TV. Besides, your TV is small, and Zhou Dongdong sits too close to it, which affects his vision. This reason made it difficult for Zhou Shuling to refuse. Zhou Dongdong liked to move a small bench and sit very close to the TV, and Zhou Shuling couldn't look at her all the time. Okay, I'll listen to you. Zhou Shuling touched Zhou Dongdong's head with a gentle smile, and secretly made up her mind to borrow Lu Chang'an's TV to watch now, and she must buy a new one quickly and return it to Lu Chang'an. Thank you, Brother Chang'an. Zhou Dongdong hugged Lu Chang'an's thigh hard. Zhou Dongdong likes big TVs, but Zhou Dongdong's favorite is Brother Chang'an, except when he bullies Zhou Dongdong, he has to reduce it. Like it a little bit. Go up and open the door, and I'll bring the TV up. Lu Chang'an carried Zhou Dongdong aside, although having a child hanging on his leg actually had no impact on his activities. Zhou Shuling hurriedly ran upstairs to open the door, and Lu Chang'an went to move the TV in the bedroom that was still in its packaging. After unpacking the box, installing the base, plugging in the power and cables, Lu Chang'an asked Zhou Shuling to read the instructions slowly, then went downstairs with the old TV. Zhou Shuling stood happily in front of the TV for a while, and then became a little confused. There was a good person like Lu Chang'an in this world, and the key was to meet him. How should she repay him? Although she had never taken the initiative to ask for help from others, this kind of enthusiasm and generosity made Zhou Shuling feel warm and grateful. It seemed that she could only take care of him more in life in the future, otherwise she would have nothing else. Apart from being able to do some housework, make breakfast and supper, there is nothing else that can be given to him in return. She had to tell him that she must leave the cleaning and other matters at home to her. When Zhou Shuling was about to go downstairs, she suddenly thought, where is her child? Probably still playing downstairs. Zhou Shuling came to Lu Chang'an's house and shouted, Zhou Dongdong, go back and get ready for bed. It's not here. Lu Chang'an was packing the outer packaging of electrical appliances and looked around. Where did he go? Zhou Shuling was puzzled. You're not at home either. See if there are any dogs playing with you downstairs. No. Zhou Shuling went out and shouted twice. Lu Chang'an went to the bedroom and took a look to confirm that Zhou Dongdong was indeed not at home. You're still running around so late? Zhou Shuling was a little anxious, and she and Lu Chang'an went upstairs to search again. Not upstairs either. Call. Lu Chang'an reminded her not to panic. Zhou Shuling called and the voice prompt indicated that the call could not be connected. Out of battery. It's impossible. I just fully charged her this morning. Normally, I charge her once every 2 days. Zhou Shuling was confused and slightly worried. However, Zhou Dongdong was so late at night. He could only go to Aunt Xia's store to buy some snacks. No, maybe he ran out of the neighborhood. Lu Chang'an recalled it and made sure that Zhou Dongdong did not follow him when he moved the TV and Zhou Shuling upstairs. The dog didn't bark either. Lu Sin has not yet been infected into a stupid and hopeless dog, so if a stranger picks Zhou Dongdong up, he will still bark. It must be at my house. Lu Chang'an thought for a while, went downstairs, and opened the large refrigerator in the living room. Zhou Dongdong was sitting in the big freezer below. Zhou Shuling followed Lu Chang'an and stared at Zhou Dongdong. I'm sitting here, and the refrigerator door closed by itself. Zhou Dongdong saw his mother's expression and quickly told her that it was the refrigerator that wanted to lock Zhou Dongdong here. Then shall I beat up the refrigerator, or shall I beat you up? Zhou Shuling randomly found a piece of wood from the electrical appliance packaging. When she saw that there were nails on it, she had to replace it with another one. Holding it in her hand, it felt really good. Good. Refrigerator. I just want to beat you up. Zhou Dongdong hurriedly wanted to close the refrigerator door, but Zhou Shuling stopped her and took her out of the refrigerator. Zhou Dongdong hurriedly ran home, wailing all the way. I'll go back and take care of her, Zhou Shuling said to Lu Chang'an with some embarrassment, because Lu Chang'an's expression was clearly saying, look, whose daughter is this? Go. Lu Chang'an was not surprised and was used to it. How could she be hiding in the refrigerator? I didn't even think about it. Zhou Shuling admired Lu Chang'an a little. Zhou Dongdong was hiding in this place, and he could suddenly think of her hiding place. Children like to hide in refrigerators, washing machines, cupboards, these closed and small places, because they still retain the memory feeling in their mother's body, and they can get a sense of familiar security and feel very comfortable, Lu Chang'an explained. Then, shouldn't I hit her? Lu Chang'an was an authority in educating children in Zhou Shuling's eyes. After being popularized by the science, Lu Chang'an was a little hesitant. Just hit him as you like, it's not a nature worth protecting. Okay. Zhou Shuling took Shangfang's sword and went home to beat the children. As soon as Lu Chang'an closed the door, Zhou Shuling turned around again and said to Lu Chang'an as if she had almost forgotten, don't clean it up. I'll wait and help you. Lu Chang'an nodded. When Zhou Shuling went downstairs, she and Lu Chang'an put away the paper boxes, wooden frames, foam, and other things for the electrical appliances. After she went upstairs, Lu Chang'an placed the electrical appliances and painted the wooden bed. When he made tea and lay on the balcony, it's already 4:30 in the morning. At this moment, many people had just left the nightclub. Some people also walked out of the internet cafe. They smelled the unique smoky smell on their bodies and ordered a fried noodles on the roadside. The water truck had to wait for a while before passing by. Sanitation workers pushed their carts on the road and started working. The sky was still immersed in darkness, but few people would seriously appreciate this quietest hour in the city before dawn. Lu Chang'an rarely looks back on the past to compare the present. Only those who lament the ruthlessness of time will like memories and comparisons, lamenting the regrets and beauty in their hearts. They don't know whether the future can be expected or not, but no matter what the future is, it will always be past. The days are getting closer and closer, and when I have no choice but to sigh and reminisce, there is no other way to relieve the emotions in my heart. He just thinks that his current life is quite interesting. When he climbs high, he can see the majesty of the world. However, most of the scenery can be appreciated only when he stops and looks at it carefully while walking. Don't stay at high places for too long. Because what I have seen is too broad and too general, it is difficult to appreciate it in detail. Maybe after a while, he will get tired of this kind of life, and then he will change his way of living. Lu Chang'an thought about it for a while, but he has no desire to change his personality for the time being. Lu Chang'an, a freshman at Xiongnan University who is 18 this year and 18 next year. After drinking the tea, I chewed the tea leaves and spit them out on the soil of a pot of maidenhair fern. The little guy grew greener and more unique. En Nuan, Lu Chang'an couldn't help but laugh. There will always be some situations in love. Naturally, he will not be as nervous and uneasy as Brother Chu. He is afraid that Chen Yaojin will come out at this time, and he is afraid that she will just go find him. It is not a good idea for other men to reveal their feelings to him, for fear that she will lose her affection for him and fall in love with him. Lu Chang'an temporarily understood En Nuan's anger. It must be because Qin Yanan had the key to his house. But when En Nuan first met Qin Yanan and greeted her happily concealing her unhappiness, En Nuan hadn't really built up the anger that was about to explode in her heart. At that time, Qin Yanan was directing people to move up and down. En Nuan should have realized that Lu Chang'an's door was open at this time. The point is, Qin Yanan should have made En Nuan realize at this time that the door to Lu Chang'an's house was not originally opened, but she opened it. Because she has the key. She told En Nuan that she had the key to Lu Chang'an's house, and she deliberately let En Nuan know that she could enter and exit Lu Chang'an's house at any time and open the door. Combined with what Zhongqing said about the meaning of keys in women's eyes, En Nuan is like this. It's understandable that En Nuan is angry, but Miss Xionan, aren't you doing this to cause trouble for your brother? You have been a younger sister for more than 100 years, and at first you were so submissive that you could not get along with the eldest daughter of the Su family. Why are you trying to compete with En Nuan now? Lu Chang'an has a headache. Qin Yanan is Qin Yanan now. She can't remember what happened more than 100 years ago, but she really doesn't change her habit of having trouble with the girls around her brother. En Nuan and Qin Yanan don't like each other very well. This is not the first time, and it will probably not be the last time. Lu Chang'an has experienced a lot of this kind of thing, but having more experience does not mean that he can handle it with ease, just like there are so many mathematicians in the world, but some problems have never been solved. He has never properly solved the problem between Ye Sijin and Su Mei, because all kinds of troubles and problems in this world may not always have a proper solution when they arise. Women at that time actually had no lower limit to their methods. For example, what Su Mei did was completely intolerable to Ye Chinayu at the time. That night, there was a small red clay stove, jade bone mahjong, and a small mansion in Shanghai. The first snow outside greeted the red plum blossoms. The house was full of joy. People in the room were smiling and playing cards, but Su Mei was planning to drug Ye Sijin and Qin Peng. Let them cook the rice, but unexpectedly, Ye Chinayu and Ye Sijin slept together. There should be no relationship, Lu Chang'an thought at this moment. Today's En Nuan would certainly not deal with Qin Yanan like this. Today's Qin Yanan would certainly not set up En Nuan to get along with another man. But we can only be sure that this extreme situation will not happen, but there will definitely be no end to the little tricks between the two people. What he can probably do is to tell En Nuan the truth one day, that Qin Yanan is actually his sister, as she was more than 100 years ago, and she is now. Now is not the time to talk about this. En Nuan is not Zhu Huntang. The sky was getting brighter. Lu Chang'an thought about these interesting and warm past events and that he hadn't run for a while, so he went downstairs and called Lucine out of the kennel and went for a run with him. It is necessary for large dogs to maintain a certain amount of exercise every day, especially sled dogs such as Alaskans, Huskies, and Samirs. If their energy is not consumed, what else can they do without tearing down the house? Lu Chang'an started from home, ran along Metro Line 1 to Wenchang Pavilion, and then to Martyrs Park. He walked slowly through Martyrs Park, looked at the monument, turned back and ran to Wei Avenue, and let Lucine rest for a while at Furong Square. Then I ran straight home. It was getting late. When Lu Chang'an came back, he drove away the child who was almost late and was still sitting under the sycamore tree waiting to ride a dog to school. Zhou Shuling brought him a bowl of newly invented pig's trotter skin rice noodles with 2 fried eggs. Come and eat. Zhou Shuling also asked him if he had any clothes to wash and if there was any work for her to do. Lu Chang'an was neither polite nor accepting of her excessive attentiveness and drove her to the store. The pig's trotter skin rice noodles tasted okay, but Zhou Shuling had no experience in how to process the pig's trotter skin so that it would not be too greasy and not as crispy as in the stew. When she asked to put it on the menu, naturally if you want to reject it, it is also very interesting to see her looking aggrieved but silently accepting it. Lu Chang'an really doesn't have bad taste, he just smashes the signature dishes. Can he just put them on the shelves casually? Now this red soup spicy chicken noodle dish has quite a reputation. Lu Chang'an doesn't want to eat other random dishes. He can still come up with his own signature dish, but there is no need. If Zhou Shuling wants to prove herself, she needs to. She works hard on her own. Lu Chang'an made do with the noodles, took a clean glass jar, filled it with this year's new hot sauce, and then went to the express delivery point to send the jar of hot sauce to Gao Duiai. Gao Duiai must also make hot sauce at home, but his chili fields are all in large areas. During the hot sauce making season every year, the ground is filled with clay pots. The hot sauce made in batches is naturally not as refined as Lu Chang'an's. Delicious. On National Day, I have to go to Gao Duiai's house to pick up some local specialties and other things, and reciprocate the courtesy. Nowadays, almost no young people in towns and villages are willing to farm, and the old people don't have the energy and time. Large tracts of land are deserted. Some policies to encourage farming are not of much use. If you farm at home, where can you take photos of Kuaishao and TikTok? Under such circumstances, the Gao family had almost no pressure to expand the scale of its agricultural, forestry and water contracting. Lu Chang'an has a lot of classes today. There are classes in the first, second, third, and fourth periods in the morning, and physical education classes in the afternoon. He plans to go to Nuan in the afternoon, because Nuan has already sent her class schedule to Lu Chang'an, and she also has Lu Chang'an's curriculum. Zhu Huntang still stepped into the classroom. After looking around, she found that Lu Chang'an was sitting in the corner of the last row. There was no one next to him, so Zhu Huntang walked over happily. She didn't like being next to Lu Chang'an when she was talking to him. Someone was eavesdropping, because it would be difficult to have a conversation full of secrets, such as calling grandpa or something like that. Master, good morning. Zhu Huntang saluted Lu Chang'an. Usually people who don't have a right hand use their left hand to salute. Lu Chang'an glanced at Zhu Huntang, and the height of the middle finger is slightly touching the temple, not for you to touch your forehead. Whatever. Zhu Huntang didn't care about this. She just imitated it casually, not remembering whether to salute with her left hand or her right hand. The Tao Te Ching says that soldiers are unlucky weapons and things that can be evil, so those who have the Tao will not live there. When a gentleman lives on the left, he values the right, and when using soldiers, he values the right. Good things happen to the left, and bad things happen to the right. Lu Chang'an lowered his head. Looking at his book, next time you salute with your left hand and your hand is still intact, tell people that you are peace-loving, peaceful, and prosperous for the country and the people, and good luck, so you salute with your left hand. Bah! Of course my hand is not broken. Zhu Huntang looked at his perfect right hand lovingly. I heard that many boys lovingly call their left and right hands little left and little you. Zhu Huntang also likes his own little left hand. He's Iowa, she is a fairy and does not appreciate the goddess-like appearance of Venus de Milo. If your hand is still intact, help me get the textbook from my school bag. Zhu Huntang was a little interested in what was in Lu Chang'an's school bag, so he went to look through it. It turned out that there were no mysterious antiquities or anything that matched his identity. He took out his textbook and spread it out between the two of them. Zhu Huntang dug around in his school bag without giving up and found a golden dog, and couldn't help but get excited. "Grandpa, is this golden dog a token of our sex master?" Zhu Huntang said excitedly, shaking Lu Chang'an's arm. "Golden dog?" Lu Chang'an was so shaken by her that he couldn't read the book. Then he turned around and took a look. "Can you have some common sense? This is a tiger charm, a golden dog. You stupid dog. Why are you scolding people?" Zhu Huntang protested delicately, not paying much attention to it. Lu Chang'an often beat and cursed people. "This is obviously a dog, how does it look like a tiger? Go to Beidou yourself." Lu Chang'an didn't want to pay attention to her. Tigers have big heads, and there are circles of patterns on their bodies, and there is a king character on their foreheads. Zhu Huntang still knows tigers. How does this thing look like a tiger? Zhu Huntang searched the internet again and found out that the tiger talisman really looked like this. The tiger talisman actually looked like a dog. It was really incredible. "Grandpa, is this what you used when you were a general? For example, if you want to unify the whole world, you will use this tiger charm to mobilize your troops and conquer the east and west?" Zhu Huntang asked with some admiration. "I bought it for 20 yuan." Lu Chang'an took it over and pressed the pages of the book. Zhu Huntang suddenly felt boring. He felt that Lu Chang'an was not much different from ordinary young people except for some old guy's hobbies. Zhu Huntang felt that Lu Chang'an should take out an ancient object from time to time, with a history of hundreds of thousands of years, and then say with complex and profound eyes, "Think about those days. It would be best to take out a picture of ancient ladies and slowly spread it out, and then look at the woman in the picture affectionately. This is a woman I met during the reign of Emperor Taizong." Or when Lu Chang'an was being despised, a luxury car stopped, with bodyguards in black uniforms, and a beautiful girl helped the trembling old man down. The old man angrily pointed at the young master who was despising Lu Chang'an. He knelt down, and then knelt down in front of Lu Chang'an under the horrified eyes of everyone, with tears streaming down his face. "Master! Old slave! No matter how bad it is, he still has to lament all the historical events such as the Beacon Fire Opera and the Princes, and express his deep feelings of participating in and experiencing various events." Not even Lu Chang'an. Zhu Huntang felt that he should have been doing nothing as he is now, a salted fish. No, he founded the Zhu Fenglai sword section. Zhu Huntang took this name and asked people to search everywhere, and finally I found this name in a magazine, but other than the name, there was no useful information at all. Even so, Zhu Huntang still maintained a strong interest in Lu Chang'an. In addition, Lu Chang'an smelled very good. Even though there were many people in the classroom and the air was inevitably turbid, sitting next to him did not make him feel that way. "By the way, something happened in our family." Zhu Huntang put aside his random thoughts and stretched out 2 fingers to look at the table gently. Lu Chang'an didn't answer her words, she would have said it herself anyway. Zhu Huntang did not wait for Lu Chang'an to answer, so he could only continue to talk to himself. "The Zhu family has always been the big one in Taiwan's political arena, and the old lady will also have resources to lean on. After all, both the black and white on the island will give the Zhu family some face. In many industry associations, the Zhu family is easy to talk to, and they are given enough votes every year. I am the only daughter of the third family, and the third family has the most trust and respect from the old lady. My mother can be said to be the best person in the Zhu family besides the old lady. The second person outside the family is also the actual talker in the Zhu family. You said that the eldest and third bedrooms are going to fight. Does the old lady have a special headache? After all, the palms and backs of the hands are full of flesh." Lu Chang'an gave her a chestnut without raising his head. "Why are you hitting me?" Zhu Huntang held his head in a grieved manner. Really, even though what he said was completely flawless, he actually used her usual response to deliberately provoke her without even thinking. "You are here to fight," Lu Chang'an said with certainty. "The two of them have not been together for more than a month or two. This person has repeatedly knowingly committed crimes and enjoyed it without reciprocation. How can Lu Chang'an not satisfy her? Even if I did it on purpose, you shouldn't hit me. You can't change it in another way, such as making a threat that looks fierce but actually won't do it," Zhu Huntang said angrily. Holding his head, he grabbed Lu Chang'an's book and put it on his chin, lying on the table. Okay, what she took away was the textbook, which was not important and did not affect Lu Chang'an's study. Zhu Huntang was a little surprised and asked tentatively, "Then how will you threaten me? Put a hole in your stockings with your nails." Zhu Huntang imagined that she was wearing ripped stockings, and suddenly she couldn't bear it. She quickly put her legs together and hugged her with both hands, as if Lu Chang'an was about to tear her stockings. "Then I'd rather you hit me." Zhu Huntang absolutely couldn't accept this threat. Lu Chang'an nodded in agreement. Zhu Huntang touched his head and looked at his stockings. Thinking about what he wanted to say, he still felt that his heart, mouth, and throat were itchy. "I know An Nuan and Qin Yanan are starting to get involved." Zhu Huntang finally revealed the true identity of the fight between the two houses, the palms of their hands and the backs of their hands. "You are a good gossip, aren't you?" Lu Chang'an looked at Zhu Huntang with a gentle smile. "It's not bad." Zhu Huntang certainly found it interesting. Yesterday, Qin Yanan came to the high-end boutique electrical appliance store owned by Baojun Group to buy things. Zhu Huntang was doing a spa, and she was not interested in electrical appliances at all. Qin Yanan asked her to accompany her, but she did not go, but she asked the store manager to accompany her. Giving Qin Yanan professional purchasing advice, and of course there are discounts. After Zhu Huntang finished the spa and asked Qin Yanan for dinner, Qin Yanan agreed. When he saw Qin Yanan in the evening, he found that she was as happy as if she had reached the peak of her life. She even asked Zhu Huntang to open a bottle of red wine. As a woman, she couldn't help but share her pride with her girlfriends. Qin Yanan didn't feel that she and An Nuan were competing for Lu Chang'an's favor. It was just that the little girl always regarded her as an enemy. Qin Yanan would inevitably have to fight back. If anyone were to take on this situation among them, they are all a bit refreshing. Zhu Huntang didn't see it that way. She felt that Qin Yanan had finally woken up and no longer blindly let An Nuan do whatever he wanted just because she was Lu Chang'an's girlfriend. She felt that Qin Yanan was bullying the gentle and humble Qin Yanan. Zhu Huntang thinks that the most annoying thing about An Nuan is that An Nuan always thinks that every girl who knows Lu Chang'an will compete with her for her boyfriend. Zhu Huntang still remembers that when An Nuan and Lu Chang'an were not together, he once went to find Lu Chang'an. When Lu Chang'an and An Nuan left, An Nuan looked at Zhu Huntang with a sense of superiority and contempt in her eyes, as well as pride, disdain, arrogance, and uncontrollable laughter. At that time, Zhongqing actually thought, who could have so many things in his eyes? And the uncontrollable laughter? And asked Zhu Huntang to show her an uncontrollable laugh with his eyes, because Zhu Huntang couldn't do An Nuan's level, she still remembered it. Because Qin Yanan had hit An Nuan, Zhu Huntang was also very happy. "The palms of my hands and the backs of my hands are full of flesh. As a loyal and ordinary member of this sect, I risk my life to advise you, Master, you must favor the elder of our sect, Miss Yaya. At least, you must be fair in a bowl of water." Zhu Huntang, as Qin Yanan's best friend, although sometimes he would backhand others without hesitation, but in such a position of right and wrong, he would not say that he would only support Qin Yanan no matter what. The palms and backs of his hands were full of flesh. Zhu Huntang finally said something that was not so outrageous. If there was no continuation of this kind of family relationship for hundreds of years, and other girls provoked An Nuan and made An Nuan unhappy, that would be one word: plaid roll. I personally think that Miss Yaya is still very good. In terms of figure, she is better than An Nuan. They are about the same height, but what about their figure? Men all value figure. As for family background, needless to say, An Nuan, my mother, is obviously uneducated and has no skills at first glance. She is the kind of professor who doesn't know how to rate her. Wait a minute, you have the nerve to say that a real professor is ignorant and incompetent. Lu Chang'an found it unbelievable. Where do you get your confidence, huh? This is a golden dog. Lu Chang'an knocked on the tiger talisman. This person who didn't even know the tiger talisman actually thought that Lu Yuwang was ignorant and incompetent, although Lu Yuwang's performance outside of work was about the same as Zhu Huntang's. He had no problem with his serious work. Ah! This is my objective position. Zhu Huntang didn't take it seriously. Lu Chang'an was indeed more partial to An Nuan and was not even allowed to comment objectively on Lu Yuwang. If you are objective, you can eat this golden dog, Lu Chang'an said. Okay. Zhu Huntang agreed without hesitation, and then saw Lu Chang'an hand over the tiger talisman. Only then did he realize that he had been tricked by Lu Chang'an again. I just want to help Qin Yanan. Zhu Huntang frowned and became stubborn. If you are not objective, you are not objective. What is the use of being objective? Do we need to be fair and just when it comes to things like falling in love and helping one's best friend? Class Lu Chang'an didn't want to pay attention to her. As for her non-objective stance, this is understandable. If a girl's best friend has an objective stance on this kind of issue, then there will be a problem. Although this is just an issue that Zhu Huntang thinks she needs to take sides on. I have found two of the best emotional support experts in Taiwan. I asked them to fly to Junxia today and give Qin Yanan advice in the evening. Zhu Huntang was very proud. She wanted to do what a good best friend can do. Everything to help Qin Yanan. What is an emotional assistance expert? Lu Chang'an looked at Zhu Huntang calmly. It is to help girls find their own feelings. They can solve any problems they encounter in love, such as a cold husband, not coming to dinner at night, sleeping in a separate room, or a boyfriend drifting away from another relationship. Opposite the boyfriend's office are beautiful female subordinates, and so on. They are a professional team with countless successful cases on hand. Zhu Huntang is full of confidence. With such a professional team, how can An Nuan be Qin Yanan's opponent? To quote someone, love is a war. Since it is a war, of course the side with more people will win. This industry is booming in Taiwan. Does it feel natural? Lu Chang'an asked Zhu Huntang. It's okay, Zhu Huntang nodded reservedly. After class, Lu Chang'an stopped talking to Zhu Huntang. He listened to the class, reviewed it against the textbook, and read another book he brought. Zhu Huntang occasionally attends lectures. Although advanced mathematics is too difficult for her, it does not affect her ability to obtain a degree in the future. After class, Lu Chang'an packed his school bag. Zhu Huntang thought he was going to change classrooms. Lu Chang'an hooked his fingers, and Zhu Huntang followed him with his ponytails jumping. Lu Chang'an saw her RV in front of the teaching building. Because this teaching building was a bit far from the helipad on the roof of the building, it was naturally impossible for the ferry to walk so far in the summer. What are you going to do? Seeing Lu Chang'an walking into the RV, Zhu Huntang was a little wary. Lu Chang'an had no interest in molesting her, but Zhu Huntang believed that he had many other ways to torture the gentle and lovely little fairy. Come up, Lu Chang'an waved with a gentle expression. This gentle look was too suspicious. Zhu Huntang pressed the car door, looked around, and moved in from the side. Deleting an irrelevant plot, Lu Chang'an taught Zhu Huntang a lesson. The process is omitted. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 397. Sacred often brings to mind inviolability. In some areas, the sacred is allowed to be violated, otherwise the sacred cannot be called sacred, because what cannot be violated can only be terror. What prevents the human heart from blasphemy is terror, not holiness. Lu Chang'an first hooked Zhu Huntang's stockings, which was already intolerable, not to mention that he threatened that he would desecrate Zhu Huntang's sacred and inviolable skirt. Zhu Huntang had no way to use terror to stop Lu Chang'an. Every little skirt is a clone of a little fairy. They are beautiful and cute, as innocent and lively as the fairies who descended to earth. Zhu Huntang could endure Lu Chang'an's various insults, but he had to protect his little skirt to the death, so looking at Lu Chang'an's hateful, devilish smile, Zhu Huntang could only learn from the pain and let his emotional support expert go home. What's more, how could Qin Yan'an not be N Nuan's opponent? Qin Yan'an has clearly achieved a comprehensive victory in the first head-to-head confrontation. Even he likes Qin Yan'an's body and soul, why shouldn't Lu Chang'an like it? If he had slept with Qin Yan'an, he would have been as obsessed with Qin Yan'an's beauty as Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang hugged his silk stockings and couldn't help but think of some plan about wine and sex, but let it go, it pissed off Lu Chang'an and let him know that it was his own idea. Maybe he would get him out of Bailong Center. Dropped from the top of 452 meters. The fairy must be very beautiful even in death. It would be too ugly to turn into flesh. She doesn't have Lu Chang'an's ability to jump off a building. Lu Chang'an went to class, and Zhu Huntang sat on the bed and did not move. Isn't it natural not to go to class if he is in a bad mood? Zhu Huntang took photos of her stalking corpses, focusing on the traces left by their rape, and sent them to Bai Hui, because Bai Hui is also a little fairy, and fairies will understand each other such heart-wrenching tragedy. Oh my God! What a stupid thing, Bai Hui immediately replied to the message, with a lot of stunned and sad expressions. Lu Chang'an did it? Who else could it be besides this crazy guy? Zhu Huntang also sent a lot of angry rune words. Why is he like this? Did he also damage the limited edition socks with the goddess's hand holding the galaxy rotor at the base? Bai Hui felt heartbroken for Zhu Huntang. The roots of these big pig's hooves don't understand how girls collect things like this. How much effort and money are needed to buy rare stockings, and some styles are simply not something you can buy with money. Of course it's because of Building 2 of Bailong Center. Zhu Huntang was as tall as Bai Hui, and they unanimously agreed with the codename given to N Nuan, so they started gossiping about the cause and effect of the matter. Although Bai Hui didn't like Lu Chang'an, she would not lose her reserve when gossiping about Lu Chang'an with Zhu Huntang behind her back, nor would she feel that she had given up her self-respect and pride. Of course, she would actively participate. Lu Chang'an has already gone back to class. He sent a message to N Nuan and said that he would come to her during the May and 6th festival in the afternoon. Since N Nuan also had a physical education class in the afternoon, the necessary procedure for falling in love on campus is to first get the class schedule of the person you like, so that you can plan and arrange it. Can also cope with various situations. Of course, if you like a young lady like Zhu Huntang, it is useless to get the class schedule. Whether she is in the classroom or not is random. N Nuan did not reply to his message and still maintained the attitude of an angry girlfriend. At noon, Lu Chang'an was preparing to go to the cafeteria to eat when Bai Hui called and asked where he was, saying that he wanted to return the diary to him. She read it quite quickly. I guess she didn't finish it before Lu Chang'an asked her to come to the dormitory cafeteria. Just as Lu Chang'an finished cooking, Bai Hui came to the cafeteria. There was no doubt that she was at the School of Biology when she made the call. In addition to Zhu Huntang's appearance, which often sparkles like special effects, Bai Hui's light steps today are rhythmic. She is wearing black uniform shoes, white half socks, a well-cut female student uniform, and her loose bangs under her hair. Her smiling eyes seemed to bring sweet contagion to everyone who saw her. The corners of her lips were slightly raised, full of liveliness and brightness. "Did you find another gold coin?" Apart from that, Lu Chang'an couldn't think of any other situation that could make Bai Hui change his temperament from the inside out. No. Bai Hui shook her head, held the diary to her chest, and stood in front of Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an stretched out his hand. He didn't want Bai Hui to put the diary directly on the dining table in the cafeteria. Bai Hui put the diary in Lu Chang'an's hand, then said with a reserved smile, "Goodbye." "Are you crazy?" Lu Chang'an couldn't help but be puzzled as he watched Bai Hui turn around and disappear under the special effects as if blending into the sunshine outside the door. Although the brain circuit of fairies is often difficult to understand, Lu Chang'an decided to analyze it. People who show certain symptoms of mental patients are often called mental patients, but Bai Hui is obviously not a real mental patient. Generally speaking, this situation means that there are reasons behind some of her behaviors that are unknown to the viewer. When a person is happy, there are often only two reasons: he or she has something worthy of joy, or he or she sees others being unlucky. Bai Hui didn't pick up the gold coins, which was probably because she saw other people being unlucky. If it was other people's unlucky things, with a girl's instinct to gossip, she would have publicized it just now. Then the person who made her feel happy just to see him unlucky was Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an didn't think he was unlucky. The only thing that made Bai Hui feel happy because he was unlucky was yesterday's issue with An Nuan. The only people who knew about this problem were themselves, Lu Yuang, Qin Yinan, Zhu Huntang and An Nuan. An Nuan likes to show affection, but never reveals the unhappiness between herself and Lu Chang'an to others, let alone to Bai Hui. Qin Yinan and Lu Yuang are also impossible, then only Zhu Huntang is left. Zhu Huntang may not tell Bai Hui excitedly from the beginning because the matter involves Qin Yinan, but she may go to Bai Hui and start talking about it for some reason to vent her emotions, and then she can't control herself. In other words, because Lu Chang'an tore Zhu Huntang's stockings to pieces just now, she had the need to vent. She won't talk to Qin Yinan about this matter, because Qin Yinan is not a fairy, and she doesn't have much empathy for things like stockings being torn and skirts being threatened. At this time, everyone will look for the person who understands their feelings best. The only person who can understand fairies is fairies. So Zhu Huntang told Bai Hui that Lu Chang'an threatened her skirt and insulted her stockings, and then traced the source of the problem between Lu Chang'an and An Nuan. When Bai Hui found out, she ran to hang out in front of him. Of course she didn't want to take advantage of others' danger, but she wanted to show herself off and make Lu Chang'an consider her. Lu Chang'an didn't feel so good about himself. There is only one reason why she did this: it was said that you liked me, but what about you? He didn't chase me at all, but ran after An Nuan. What now? You and An Nuan are over, but I am still so beautiful and cute, have you seen it? But, I am reserved and proud. You have no chance. Goodbye. Lu Chang'an reminded himself not to think with absolute certainty that he understood the fairy's strange brain circuits and motivations, but it didn't matter if he tried to figure it out like this. Whether it was accurate or not didn't matter. He was just practicing analyzing women's thinking. Fairies are also a type of women, and An Nuan's thinking may not be completely different from theirs in some aspects. Lu Chang'an sent Bai Hui the reason for his analysis: it was said that you liked me, goodbye, before continuing to eat. Bai Hui and Zhu Huntang were staying in the lounge. I've never been optimistic about Lu Chang'an and An Nuan. It's normal for them to have problems now. Bai Hui spread her hands, showing a regretful look, and smiled sheepishly. I made up my mind at the beginning that one day Lu Chang'an and An Nuan, after breaking up, I must wear a beautiful little skirt and dangle in front of him. Although they have not broken up now, I still have to satisfy my little dark psychology. What's so dark about this? Isn't this human nature? Zhu Huntang had already heard the rumors that Lu Chang'an had a crush on Bai Hui in high school, and patted Bai Hui's shoulder understandingly. We just need to be satisfied. Anyway, he can't figure out what you're looking for him for. At this time, Bai Hui received Lu Chang'an's text message. After reading the seemingly incoherent soliloquy, he was stunned and fell on the sofa, burying his face in the pillow and shouting in shame, "It's over, it's over. Lu Chang'an guessed it? Ah! I'm going to die." Zhu Huntang picked up Bai Hui's cell phone and took a look at it. He was also startled and looked at Bai Hui in surprise. "Did you tell him? How is it possible? How could I say that?" Bai Hui's cheeks turned red and she glanced at Zhu Huntang. It turned out that she had just told Zhu Huntang her previous thoughts, but in the end she was encouraged by Zhu Huntang to do such a stupid thing. "This guy is so scary. She must have forced your brain to sleep, otherwise how would he know? He would just say we have no brains. He wouldn't guess that it was me who encouraged you, would he? That's none of your business. He is a psychopath. Can you judge him with normal people's thoughts? Maybe he will forcefully wear my skirt." Zhu Huntang hurriedly put on his shoes and ran. "Why are you going?" "I want to go back and hide, and send a van of breadmen to guard my little skirt." "Wait for me." Bai Hui felt that it was unlikely that Lu Chang'an would run into his dormitory and tear off his skirt, but seeing Zhu Huntang in such a panic, he couldn't help but follow him in panic. Lu Chang'an is not a person with superpowers who can read other people's thoughts. He can figure out Bai Hui's motives. Or is it because they are all acquaintances and have a high school history? A lot of information has been collected intentionally or unintentionally, and combined to form rational analysis and intuitive determination. The conclusion reached. Of course, he didn't think about whether Zhu Huntang was adding fuel to the fire. After Lu Chang'an finished eating, she went to the gymnasium in the north with her books. Anyuan chose aerobics in her physical education class, and she did not choose volleyball. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 399. In addition to choosing the course too late, other courses were not chosen. Among the male students who were assigned to the aerobics class, there were very few male students who took the initiative to choose this class. Some people may think that since there are very few male classmates and the class is full of girls, it would be nice to be among them. Maybe they can enjoy the feeling of being surrounded by stars and have a girlfriend close to them. In fact, male students with this idea often go to 1 or 2 classes and then never go again, because it is really embarrassing, and it is difficult for male students who are not determined or interested in persisting. Because he became an alien. Heterosexuals often receive all kinds of attention, stimulated by emotional gazes, tone of voice, and inadvertent little movements. Girls also often wonder, is there some obscene reason why he got in? Unless this male classmate is particularly good looking. At this time, they will think that since he is so handsome, there is no need to sneak in to get close to girls. He must love aerobics. Lu Chang'an was sitting in the auditorium of the gymnasium. 6 male students wearing sweatpants and sneakers came first, and then started cleaning the place with floor mops. It was obvious that no matter what reason they chose this course, they were praised by all the stars. Instead of enjoying the benefits, I had to come in early to do hard work. Lu Chang'an smiled and turned over the book in his hand. After a while, the female classmates arrived one after another. During aerobics performances and competitions, female competitors tend to dress more generously, but in university courses, everyone wears only loose-fitting clothing and shoes that are suitable for sports. And Nuan is still dressed as a girl full of energy and sunshine. She wears white sports shorts, a short t-shirt, and a pair of flat running shoes. Her slender figure is like an elegant crane strolling in the garden. And Nuan walked into the gym, touched her neck, and twisted her neck casually, as if she was a little uncomfortable. This movement made her look around for someone covered, and she quickly caught it with the corner of her eye. He reached someone in the stands, then immediately turned around, showing a nonchalant attitude, and kicked the floor to the gathering place. I don't want to see him at all, at all, at all. But if he didn't come to her today and didn't show up here, then at least 10 more days would be added, maybe 5 days, or 3 days would be more appropriate, and ignore him. Of course, even if he came to see her today, she would still ignore him. What are you doing here to find an Nuan? Isn't there a woman in the school who holds the key to his house and looks like she's ready to move into his house? And Nuan turned her back to Lu Chang'an in the stands and began to make preparations. Didn't he say that he liked her most because she was good looking? He didn't even show him this good looking face. And Nuan thought this, and while bending down, she looked between her legs and found that Lu Chang'an was not looking at her affectionately with sincere, guilty, and apologetic eyes. He was actually reading a book. When he comes to talk to me later, he will read a book and ignore him, showing no sincerity at all. Nuan, Lu Chang'an is still the same as in high school. Zhang Dao, who only had physical education classes with An Nuan, ran over and said to An Nuan with a smile. In high school, the figure who often sat in the stands when he was practicing volleyball seemed to have become his boyfriend now, and Nuan couldn't help but feel a little sweet, but immediately realized the current situation and quickly kept a straight face. He snorted, he was sitting there looking at me in high school, and now he's reading a book. Okay, stop gossiping about me. Bai Wanwan is also in this class, but she didn't come to the last class. Did you see the girl wearing tights and pants? She is also in our class, her name is Zhao Xiaotong, haha. And Nuan smiled, do you have a particularly good figure and beautiful figure? She's dressed like this. We're not professionals, and we're not going to a competition. It's so slutty. Zhang Dao wrinkled his nose. What's so good about your figure, little dwarf? Zhang Dao is 1.68 meters tall, which is actually considered tall among girls. However, she has often been with An Nuan since high school. In comparison, she always unconsciously thinks that she is not tall. Girls who are around 1.6 meters tall naturally he's just a dwarf, objectively. She also said she wanted to get to know Lu Chang'an. This was enough to make An Nuan worried about her since the beginning of school. She immediately told Zhang Dao, who was still unaware, with an expression of incredible surprise. What the hell, you want to poach my wife? Zhang Dao was immediately filled with indignation. Are you such a bitch? Can you please give me a little face? Zhang Dao had already taken in 2 more wives in the dormitory, but he did not divorce An Nuan, but still gave her status. Keep your voice down. An Nuan noticed that a few girls were looking over and pulled Zhang Dao. It's class, I'm going to take roll call. An Nuan is the physical education committee member of this class. Class starts after the name is called. The classes on steps and hand shapes have been completed. Today's class is the first level mass aerobics with movement combinations. Lu Chang'an stopped reading after the class started and looked at the group of beginners. Zhang Dao and Bai Wanwan have a foundation in dance and are learning aerobics. The progress of the exercises is also faster. Although An Nuan has no foundation in this area, as a girl who has won the medal for outstanding athletes from the high school affiliated to Hunan University, she has very developed motor cells. What's more, her face and figure are so advantageous that her movements are more standardized and in place. Zhang Dao Wanwan is more eye-catching and better looking. The few boys standing in the last row spent most of their time looking at the girls. They moved lazily and obviously not very seriously. There were also some girls who were scratching their heads and trying to learn from Zhou Dongdong. It's the same as humming, it's completely twisting and turning, and the teacher has to teach you the movements. Looking back, An Nuan was still pretty. Lu Chang'an looked at her slender waist, hidden volleyball-like hip line, crispy bamboo shoot-like legs, and the girl's vitality and movement during the beats, which was pleasing to the eye. In addition to Lu Chang'an, there was a man and a woman standing on the edge of the field watching, whispering to each other from time to time, nodding with appreciation, and pointing at the freshmen who were studying. The man is probably a student of Hunan University. He wears shorts and a pair of brightly colored KD6 Supreme Breast Cancer Nike shoes, which is very unique. The woman is wearing a cheerleading uniform from the School of Business Administration. She is not very tall, about 1.65 meters tall, but it is obvious that the training of the cheerleading team has allowed her to maintain a youthful and energetic figure, which makes her feel quite toned. During the break, Nuan took Jongdal and Bai Wanwan to the bathroom and came back. The girl from the cheerleading team called Nuan over. "Hello Nuan, I've heard of you for a long time. I'm Lu Hiang, the captain of our college's cheerleading team, and this is Zhang Shilang, the director of the sports department of our college's student union." Lu Hiang introduced. Hello Nuan is not surprised that they know her name, because she is really a super beautiful girl, and even Lu Chang'an likes her. "Hello, you are very talented in dancing." Zhang Shilang nodded appreciatively. "Thank you." She stretched out her hand to avoid hitting the smiling man. Nuan couldn't help but turn her head to glance at Lu Chang'an in the stands, and found that he was looking at her with a smile. She quickly turned her head, thinking that if Lu Chang'an were standing here, he would probably be very suspicious. Question: you are from the physical education department, what do you know about dance talent? Are you interested in joining our hospital's cheerleading team? Lu Hiang hesitated for a moment, then spoke enthusiastically. The hesitation was just the last helplessness. After all, Zhang Shilang had already been promised to come and recruit people. Although Lu Hiang was selected into the school cheerleading team because of his solid skills, if a super beautiful girl like Nuan joined the team, there is no doubt that the shouts of the future performances and the audience's a large part of the attention and applause will be diverted to Nuan. Nuan guessed the other party's intention, but she was still a little surprised. After a brief consideration, she shook her head with slightly dark eyes. She was once a volleyball player who appeared on the field after the cheerleading warm-up. She was an athlete who sweated on the field, jumped, ran, and focused on the entire game. Now she can only appear in the fierce competition in the form of a cheerleading team. Too many sports fields? Why? You have very good conditions, Zhang Shilang said quickly. I'm not interested, and Nuan didn't want to tell the real reason. There was no need to share this helpless emotion with outsiders. The cheerleading team in our college is very popular throughout the school. It can be said to be an internet celebrity team. The cheerleading team's official Weibo has more than 30,000 fans. Zhang Shilang smiled and glanced at Lu Hiang next to him. Do you have a bad impression of cheerleading? Many people have such a prejudice and think that the girls on the cheerleading team are too lively and open. In fact, they are like us: President Eisenhower, Ronald Reagan, former President George W. Bush, star Kirk Douglas, etc. Melon Diaz, Sandra Brooke, and others all joined the cheerleading team during their studies. More than 30,000 fans, and Nuan touched her long hair a little embarrassedly. It seemed that they didn't know much about her, and did they have any misunderstanding about the word internet celebrity? Or maybe it's just a habit of abuse. It's still growing rapidly. There will be a cheerleading competition in the school in a while. Our college's cheerleading team ranks very high, and its popularity should increase a lot. Lu Hiang is actually a little conflicted. She personally does not want Nuan to join the cheerleading team. But in the long run, when Nuan trains well, it will also be very beneficial to the college cheerleading team. Even if he is selected for the school team, Lu Hiang will have another partner in the school team. In groups composed of girls, various cliques and intrigues are common. This is also a natural and objective phenomenon. Sorry, I'm really not interested. Nuan shook her head. Sorry, you can find someone else. Nuan was about to leave. Zhang Shilang wanted to say something else. In the quiet venue, he suddenly heard the sound of a ball hitting the floor, and then a volleyball flew toward Nuan with a whistling sound. Zhang Shilang and Lu Hiang's location. The girl jumped high almost instinctively. She had always jumped to such a height before, jumping countless times, and then slammed the ball back countless times under the seriousness of her teammates and opponents, and then returned to her position, preparing for the next move. An offense and a defense. En Nuan, who landed steadily, looked at her palms and looked ahead. It was Lu Chang'an who caught the volleyball that she had slapped back, spinning it in his hand and looking at her with a smile. I only like volleyball, I have no interest in cheerleading at all, En Nuan said to Zhang Shilang, putting his hands in his pockets and walking closer to Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an swatted the ball over. En Nuan held his hands and put the ball back. Lu Chang'an returned with the ball and started playing with En Nuan. After the intermission, class started. En Nuan gave Lu Chang'an a still angry look and swatted the volleyball towards Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an caught the ball and was about to return it when Zhang Shilang and Lu Hiang came over and called out to Lu Chang'an. I'm not interested in joining the cheerleading team either, Lu Chang'an said. Zhang Shilang's cheek muscles twitched. In fact, the proportion of boys in the college cheerleading team is lower than that of boys in aerobics classes, but, who cares? Classmate, you should be En Nuan's friend, right? Can you help persuade En Nuan? She is very suitable, and we also need seeds like her. Lu Hiang actually knew Zhang Shilang's true intention, and she had not heard of it. Zhang Shilang joked that cheerleaders are the harem of the Ministry of Sports. When we watch American TV series or movies, we often see that the core figure of the team and the cheerleader are the two most popular people in the school, and they are also a couple, but the cultural environment is different. Even if En Nuan joins the cheerleading team, there is no chance. Lu Chang'an was not interested in beating around the bush, or waiting until someone really provoked him to respond, and said straightforwardly, I am her boyfriend, don't bother. Zhang Shilang's expression changed. He was sure that he had not made any actions or words to express this intention just now. This was the first time he had seen such a guy who showed no euphemism or subtlety and was so tit for tat. Classmate, I didn't mean that. You misunderstood, Zhang Shilang said coldly. I didn't misunderstand. Haha, do you have the final say whether I mean this or not? Certainly. Lu Hiang looked in surprise at the man in front of him whose eyebrows were slightly narrowed and appeared long and narrow. When he interacted with En Nuan just now, he was as warm as a forest bathed in sunshine, but now he looked like a thorn. Zhang Shilang laughed angrily. He had indeed made a mistake in not thinking too much about whether En Nuan had a boyfriend. However, if he recruited such a girl, it would be best if he could catch her, and it wouldn't be a loss if he couldn't catch her. Don't act like you want to fight with me. I'll tell you so that you don't go astray. Lu Chang'an is a very reasonable person. How could he treat the other party just because he has this intention and has no actual actions? What about a good beating? That was not good, so he patted Zhang Shilang on the shoulder and turned around to return the ball to the equipment room. Zhang Shilang couldn't help but look at each other and Lu Hiang, and sneered, En Nuan's boyfriend, he must be a freshman, right? Good guy, this year's freshmen are so arrogant. I'll find another chance to talk to her. Lu Hiang comforted Zhang Shilang perfunctorily. Zhang Shilang glanced at En Nuan's back from a distance and nodded, this beautiful girl really exudes a charm that makes people want to take her as their own. Monthly pass.